Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cipher.
And I'm Fox.
So let's welcome everybody to the end of year Northern Perspective extravaganza. Let's start off with hearing where everybody's from. You know the drill. You have 60 seconds starting now. Let's go. We have Peener's footage from Cranbrook, British Columbia. We have JK from New Brunswick. We have Vikram from KB. I'm not sure where that is. Humble Tracker, welcome back. Pam Lambert from Hagersville, Ontario. We have Paradoxy from Calgary. Don Wickenden from Sudbury. Blaine Mitchell from Pickle Bay, Ontario. We have the Tune of Lee from Edmonton, Alberta. Jeff, here we go. Zirak from Regina. We have Kim Allen from Welland, Ontario. Anthony Nicella from Toronto. Dale Taylor, Vancouver Island. Shibakobe, NDP Island. Marie Perrin from Portland, Ontario. Marilyn Northrup from St. John's, New Brunswick. Glenn B2 from Saskatchewan. We have Flying Beaver from Winterburn, Alberta. B. Nimmo from Vanderhoof, British Columbia. Chicken Lady from Assiniboia, Saskatchewan, I assume. The Dude from Sudbury, Ontario. And we have David FL from Maple Ridge, BC. Jeff from Guelph, Kelowna, BC. We have Nova Scotia, America. We have all of America here with us, everybody. That's great. Sault Ste. Marie. And there's my guy, Jerry Savoy from Petitcodiac, New Brunswick. So thank you, everybody, for joining. We have a lot to get to tonight. I am very, very excited for this. We've also been a little nervous for this. But here we go.
But first off, we really want to offer everybody our heartfelt thanks. When we started this channel and posted our first episode on January the 17th of this year, we could not have imagined where we would be almost a year later. We were sincerely hoping for about 1,000 subscribers by the end of our first year, and we could not have imagined we would be sitting here closing in on 34,000 subscribers before the end of December.
We also could not have fathomed meeting all of the amazing people on this journey.
He's getting emotional.
I warned everybody behind the scenes that I was going to start getting emotional. My God, the first sentence. People that we initially thought that we would never, ever meet. Never mind the fact that we have cultivated, some pretty close friendships with. But what we found was that Canadians on the internet, in the digital world, are really no different than Canadians from Squamish, British Columbia to Gander, Newfoundland. And we realize that it's probably pretty foolish to think that they would be different.
So thank you all of you for supporting us, and thank you for all the friendships that we have made along the way. As we conclude with that, we put together a little montage of our journey this year as a little treat for you all.
Many of you have asked about our intro music and where we get it from. So we figured that we would do something special and put this montage to the full-length version of that song. So we hope you enjoy it. So there you go. We put that together over the weekend, and pretty happy with it. But that's all of you guys. You know, some people out there will say that you know, it's the YouTube channel creators that make the YouTube channel successful. But without the viewers, without the subscribers, you know, without the people clicking on those thumbnails and watching, a YouTube channel is nothing. So thank you to all of you for that. We are going to be posting that to X after this. We'd appreciate a retweet if you can, if you follow us on X, and we're also going to be posting that to our YouTube channel as well for anyone who's not on X. So so thank you very much for all of the support over the last 11 months now. So anyway. We have some catching up to do on super chats and memberships, especially because Humble Tracker is back. Thank you so much, Humble Tracker. So Fox, do you want to go through that?
Sure. First, we want to preface this by saying, since it is going to be a busy panel tonight, we have 7 guests, including Barnaby. So we will not be able to do just questions in the chat, but we will be addressing super chats and gifted memberships. So we'll go right to the top. We've got a $10 super chat from Humble Tracker. It says, Barnaby from Northern Perspective, chat me this. Did Fox and Cipher enjoy a lovely Christmas? And was I missed? Yes, on both counts.
Everybody missed you.
We also have Humble Tracker gifting 30 Northern Perspective memberships. And another super chat that says, I will cap out again tonight, Barnaby at Northern Perspective.
Perfect.
And then we have Jer Savoy with a $2 super chat. It says, hoping new PM named Pierre for next year. Yes, we're hoping spring 2024, Pierre Poilievre, Prime Minister of Canada.
Fingers crossed. I'll be in the discussion.
That's right. And Rhonda Davey with a $5 super chat says, really looking forward to tonight's show. Yeah, we are too. We're a little nervous. That's why you can probably hear it, and I'm kind of sick, so you can probably hear that in my voice too. But
we also have $10 super chat from Trish Pruill. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from my temporary location in Edmonton. Thank you very much. And Humble Tracker with a $100 super chat. Thank you so much. You have hugs and kisses coming back to you, Humble Tracker. So thank you very much. So okay, so. Without further ado, we're not going to keep everybody in suspense all night. So I want to go through who you get to see tonight. So this is in no particular order. It's in the order in which they joined. So first off, we have Construction Cronies. You may recall Chris from when he was on our live stream talking about the housing crisis and giving us some insight, since that's literally his job. So welcome and thank you for joining, Chris.
Hey, good to be here, guys. Good to see everyone in the chat. Like I was saying, a lot of familiar places there, and yeah, you're gonna love the lineup tonight. I guarantee you that. So
awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have Tamara Leach. And Tamara, everybody knows who she is, the unofficial Queen of Canada, the ambassador of freedom, and the David, I'm not sure the female version of David, versus Goliath in terms of taking on literally the government of Canada. So, you know, there's not a person on this stream that isn't behind you, Tamara. So thank you, and welcome to the stream.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right. Next on, we have our good pal, Krusty Canuck, who is a 20-year veteran of our armed forces. Thank you very much for your service, sir. I will never stop saying that. We ran into Krusty, you know, really early on this year, and he was gracious enough to invite us on his show, and that was the first show we were actually on.
With the old puppets.
With the old puppets. The
bad ones.
He tolerated that, so we really appreciate that.
Exactly.
And we were nervous as all could be when we joined that because, as I said, it was our first time really on a live show. So, but we've treasured that friendship ever since, and we do our best to support each other. So, thanks for joining, Christy and Krusty, and welcome to the show.
Anytime. Anytime. I love being here with you guys.
Awesome. Okay, and next we have Marty up north. So, although Marty has not been on the show, he's been on Clyde's show when Clyde's talking about us. So we felt it only fitting that a true Canadian, an outdoorsman, that's what his channel is really about. Some fascinating videos that he has on really long hikes. I think I saw one there was 180 kilometers, if I'm not misremembering, Marty. So
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I love doing, and I'd rather be doing that. But unfortunately, with the gong show of the country that we've had in the last few years, I got to get political and try and fight for the country. So thanks for having me on the show tonight, guys.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming. And Clyde speaks very highly of you. And if Clyde speaks highly of anybody, we usually take his word for it. So
We get along fine on our show, that's for sure.
there
Eh,
you
Clyde?
go. Now, next is Vesper. So Vesper, you've seen on our show his logo. Now you actually get to see him in person. If you watch Clyde's channel, you've seen him in person before. We ran into Vesper a little, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months ago at this point. It feels like we've known him now 3 years. We talk a lot. We joke around a lot. He's a Star Trek fan, just as I am, and a lot of people are. We speak in geeky Tamarian sometimes. Well, not sometimes, all the time. But he's a very, very intelligent guy, very talented, and we count ourselves lucky to call him a friend. And also, it was Clyde who introduced him to him. So Clyde's responsible for a lot of this mess that's going on tonight. So we really, really appreciate that. So welcome to the show, Vesper.
Thank you very much for having me. Honored to be here among the giants. I will be silent at this point.
Thank you. And last but not least, because he was finishing up his show, is Clyde himself. And it's
this guy.
Yeah, this guy.
Hey, welcome. Welcome. Or welcome to me, I guess, on your show.
It's so weird. You're so used to hosting your own stuff. Thank you for having me on my own stream, Clyde. I really appreciate that. That's great.
Oh, welcome. Welcome to the stream. I'm glad you made it.
I almost missed it, but I caught the last train to YouTube town. So, but no, we one of our viewers actually got us kind of hooked up with Clyde, and this was, I think, back in the summer. I'm trying to remember the first time that I was kind of sneaking into Clyde's live stream to see what this guy was about, and I was, really, really impressed with the quality of Clyde's presentation, his down to earth approach, and just there's just authenticity that comes out of Clyde whenever he has a show. And I threw him a super chat that said, "Hey, great to see other channels like ours. Would love you to check us out sometimes." And I just meant, after his show was done, but Clyde was amazing enough to actually say, "Sure, let's look him up right now." And and showed our channel on his on a stream, which was amazing. And the rest is history. Clyde helped us out with our sound, made some recommendations, helped us out with our presentation. We've spent many a night until 3 a.m. Eastern, just chatting
With wobbly pops, of course.
With
Yeah,
lots
I
of
mean,
wobbly pops.
excuses, right?
Yes.
To hang out and have a good time with friends.
Yeah, so it's just a journey that we've been on, and as we mentioned before, Clyde's kind of indirectly responsible for some of the relationships that we've made, and it's so humbling just to be around these people that have been in YouTube for years. Marty's been around for a decade. Krusty, you've been around for a couple of years at least. Clyde, you've been doing this for over 10 years. So
while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you make it sound like I did all these amazing things for you. I did it selfishly. You know this, right? I did it because I want to meet all these people. I want to get to know everybody. So the best way to do it is to hang out with people and get to know them. So it's a means to an end.
There you go.
And you get a lot of friendships in the end. And that's the whole point.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of friendships, we might as well introduce everybody. So here's the panel, everybody. So,
And we also can't forget Barnaby. He's joining us on the mic tonight. You guys recognize Barnaby from the chat. Usually he's behind the scenes or he's talking to you in the chat. And tonight we put him in front of the microphone because we wouldn't have been able to do any of this without him.
so you can
Right
speak.
on.
Barnaby.
Amazing.
You can speak, Barnaby.
I can?
Yeah, get in there.
All right, everybody.
Yes.
I have this opportunity.
Yes, my lord.
Remember to click the like button.
That's right.
I'm watching it all.
We're significantly behind in likes, so let's get this up because we want YouTube to push this out. Not everybody has their notifications on. Any YouTuber will tell you that the like isn't necessarily that you like the stream, but how could you not like this lineup? It's to tell YouTube to push this video out and put it in front of more eyeballs. So please do that. If you like the stream and you're glad you're here, you want other people to be participating as well. So every time you hit that like button, it increases the odds that the algorithm is going to put it in front of more viewers. So please do that. So, this is surreal having everybody on one channel and or on one stream. I'm going to do my best to not talk a lot and let all of you talk for once. I'll take a break.
Yeah, do we want to catch up on some super chats first?
Oh, we have some more super chats. Yeah, let's take care of those before we get into it.
So we have a $10 super chat from Robert McFallon. Thank you. It says, best community on the Canadian interweb. Awesome. Thank you.
I can't disagree
Absolutely.
with that. Can't disagree with
Yeah,
that.
no way. It's the best community out there.
Absolutely.
And thank you to Don Wickenden with a $5 super chat. It says, talk about a Team Canada live stream. Cheers.
Damn right.
Thank
Damn
you.
right. This is definitely Team Canada right here.
Wait till we get on the ice.
That's right. Then that'll be ugly.
That'd be awesome. Eh? Oh yeah, that'd be great. I'd be there forechecking just.
I'm gonna need my chair to keep me steady.
Oh, Vesper will appreciate this one. It's from Jarja, $2 super chat. It says, champagne when the poles fell.
Oh, champagne when the poles fall. That's amazing. Love it.
All the way down. And we have a $10 super chat from Utaka. It says, just want to put this out there. Instead of focusing on hating Trudeau and Libs, it's better to focus on the love we have for each other and for Pierre and his team. Hate only harms the one who holds it.
It's like someone's peeked at our script tonight. I love it. So
That's absolutely
can't-
Oh,
right.
good.
so it's
Can't be
good.
against hate and hate.
Beautifully said.
Okay, so with that, let's get into this. And
Boom.
but I can't get into this because Humble Tracker just dropped another bomb. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
On my way to Cat, best wishes to the entire panel. Thank you, Tamara, for standing up to for freedom. Thank you, Krusty, for your devotion to a free Canada. Thank you to the other panelists for the invite. I'm sure you all rock. Oh, and Clyde, keep up the great work. There you go. So
Oh, thank you. Thanks for singling me out on that one.
There you go.
Appreciate it.
And before we continue, thank you, Justin, for a $2 super chat. Angels that were in Vimy Ridge look like you guys.
okay.
Awesome.
So-
Thank you.
Oh,
So if you're gonna drop a super chat now, I'm gonna kind of wait to bundle them together so we can get through some of the questions. So I have a question for all of you, and we'll start in reverse order. So we'll start with Clyde. But I want everyone to think about this and answer it. What made you decide to start to become politically active, and why?
Okay, so that's short answer. What would you like?
Whatever you
Not a
like.
3-hour stream.
I could,
Yeah.
I could fill up the whole stream with this one. No, okay. Short answers is the way to go. So, where do you start? When I was younger, I was in the punk rock scene, and I was really into punk rock stuff. And when you're a kid, you're like, a kid that's in punk rock, anarchy. I want no rulers. I want nothing to do with this stuff. And anyway, long story short, I grew up. And when I grew up, I watched a lot of my friends that were in the punk rock scene go towards socialism, which didn't make a lot of sense to me, because how do you go from anarchy, where it's like no rulers, to like totalitarianism? You know, that's a real hard move. I really pushed towards the libertarian sort of thing, which is like kind of just one notch away from anarchy. I understood the fact that, you know, we do need a government. In a sense, we do need at least a minimalistic government, and that pushed me towards reading books on this stuff. And then I think before I went real public about it, I just went into the books. I just read what of other people, because there was a lot of smarter people than me that came before me, and I can't come in and assume that I know everything. So I read things on both sides of the aisle, because I didn't want to just think this is I like this because it's my flavor. I wanted to look at it from an approach of how would the world work if it wasn't for, you know, political systems. And then I quickly found out that there's not much difference between politics and political systems or ideology and economics. And then that led me into economics. So this is over the course of 20 plus years, right? Got me to the point where economics are kind of the number one thing that drives everything, and economics are politics. And when you get into politics of the left, you see that the politics of the left are people forgetting about economic policy, throw it out the window, because we just want to live in a dream where we can just spend and pretend like there's no limit on resources. And then you look at the other side, go all the way to the right, and you have the libertarians, the people who want minimalistic government, but they realize that, you know, this means that we can have the maximum amount of freedoms, but we have to make sacrifices because of this. You know, you have your freedom, but you have responsibilities that go along with that. I like that idea, and I like to push forward that approach for other people, open people's eyes to the idea that if you take responsibility, you'll get a lot more out of it. You'll get a lot more freedom, but you get a lot more, you get a lot more ability to do better for yourself. So this is my approach. I take that with a grain of salt, and with the economic and political environment that we live in here in Canada and across the world, how things are going. And I spread this idea as a philosophy. It's an open discussion with people. I got my real start with the Freedom Convoy. Big thanks to Tamara and everybody involved in the Freedom Convoy, because it was thousands of people across Canada doing an amazing thing. And it really opened up my need to talk about this to people and do it on a daily basis. And that's where I'm at. And that's what I do on the internet.
Perfect. And I'm sure we'll have some comments on that a bit later. But Vesper, there you go.
Well, so I'm an immigrant that's now a citizen, came here at 87, left a corrupt government out in the Middle East, came to Canada, the land of opportunities and freedoms and lots of snow. And we wasn't really used to that. But we had my father just basically built an enterprise working what he does best in manufacturing. And we lived our lives, learned street hockey, learned French. I live in Quebec. Yes, the Quebec.
Sorry to hear that.
Yes. It's coming. Bring it on.
Walls fell.
I'm the tough guy here. I'm in Quebec, bro. I have to handle this. Okay. So all this is happening, and street hockey and New Kids on the Block, and fast forward, I'm grown up. I'm 25, 26, and I got married, had kids, started my own design business. It grew, it burgeoned, it became more and more, thankfully, by the grace of God, successful. But something began to happen. So people were like, "You're not on Twitter. You know, you should really promote on Twitter your work." And I was like, that was 2019. And around that time, I have a lot of family in the States. So they were all talking about this economic war that was going on and between China and America. And I was curious. I was never political. I'll tell that to everybody right now. Zero politics. And then the provincial government started pulling some wackadoodles. Then I was like, that makes no sense. And then the pandemic, and then these things, then the federal government. And anyways, long story short, by the time I found out, it was the clown prince of this nation that was doing essentially a lot of this problem. And while this was happening, this blonde lady in a truck shows up to Ottawa with like a bunch of people.
I thought you were going to say showed up to your house.
No. And I see a million Canadians, like salt of the earth people. And by this time, you got to understand, I'm not against vaccination at all, but it's the way that things happened. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of family over disagreements about, the motives. Let's call it the motives of this whole thing and the statistics. I took statistics in college for 3 semesters, so I know how to study statistics and see how numbers pan out. But while this was happening, I'm watching what's happening in Ottawa, and I'm seeing the response, the very aggressive response in the media, and very aggressive response federally and provincially. Then I'm like, okay, how many people do the designs that I do? And I wanted to help. And I met Clyde first, believe it or not. Clyde was the first guy to reach out to. I reached out to him, and he's honestly, I say it always. Clyde is the humblest dude that I've met. And he entertained some of my stuff.
There's a joke there. Oh, yeah, probably the most humble you've ever met.
Well, I mean, listen,
Stop talking me up. Seriously.
At that time, I was like a nobody, and I was just trying to help the people that had platforms. Like, hey, look, take my shit. Just take it. I don't care. I don't care how much it costs. I want to help in any way I can. Media, gifts. My whole thing was mocking the government as much as I could. And what was supposed to be, the technical term
is shit posting.
Well,
yeah, I love it.
You know what? The whole thing was, it was supposed to be for my business. Now my brand is completely like crap because it's been nothing but going after basically the government. And Clyde had me on a few times. I do help with marketing strategy. There's some elements of psychology in this, but by the time I was done, I just wanted to help. I don't need notoriety. I vowed, as Clyde knows, I don't care about having followers or likes or whatever. And as soon as the Liberals are gone and Trudeau goes off to whatever fantasy Middle Earth place he goes to, I'm going to basically close my account and move on with my life. But until then, I felt it a need as a citizen of this country to help for those that fight for freedoms and just common sense. So.
Okay. And I encourage all of you, if you haven't seen the episode where Clyde had Vesper on talking about some of this stuff, go watch it. It's a fascinating talk. I hadn't seen it before. I think Clyde and Vesper actually independently told me about that, and it really is something. So I encourage you to watch that. So, Marty.
Let me unmute myself. Part of my story will be a little bit like Vesper. I mean, if Trudeau's gone, I'll probably disappear because pre 2015 Marty is not political. You ask my friends, and some of them don't even know I'm on Twitter. They don't, the thought that Marty would be political would be the farthest thing from people's mind. I'm an engineer who spent, the longest place I've ever lived in my life is a place called Fox Creek in northern Alberta. It's a town of barely 8,000 people. And all I've ever wanted to do my whole life is just be an engineer and solve problems. And when I lived up in Fox Creek, I was with like-minded people. We would solve problems, and I had a good life. The oil patch was good to me, raised the family, and I knew I was paying taxes, and I knew about this thing called equalization. And I knew money was going out east and getting wasted, but I couldn't give a shit because I was doing my own thing. And for the majority of my life, the government didn't interfere in my life, just left me alone, which is all I want. But then in 2015, something very specific happened in Alberta. We elected a lady named Rachel Notley, and then shortly after, federally, we elected Trudeau. And then the triple whammy, we had a downturn in the economy, and things got tough for us in Alberta in the oil patch. And I almost remember distinctly, those moments in 15, 16, trying to get some help from the government for some of our projects and trying to get some assistance, and having people, almost wishing us, like cheering that the oil patch was taking a downturn. And then it got worse than that. I had people like Trudeau who I felt were literally attacking me and my lifestyle. And so I became political. I had no choice. For me, the politics of the last 7 years under Trudeau has been about, it's existential. That's what I tell people. It's a threat to my way of life. We've seen it many, many times and it got worse during COVID. I mean, it absolutely got worse during COVID. We got locked down. So I'd rather not be political. My YouTube channel for a decade is Marty taking off in the wilderness to go hiking. If you ask me where I'd rather be in the woods hiking, doing campfires with my buddies, drinking whiskey, hunting, working hard in the cold, in the miserable. I don't give a shit. I just want to work and solve problems, and I want the government out of my life. And so for me, I'm political these days. I got one victory. We got rid of Rachel Notley, and now I'm hoping for a victory to get rid of Trudeau. And like Vesper said, when that happens, hopefully I go back to being non-political and let me just do what I want to do, which is go hunting, drink whiskey, and hike in the woods. It's not complicated.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the way it's been for most of us, is that we didn't really get involved in politics until we felt we had to, and it was all because of Trudeau.
Well, and that's, I think, Canadians across this country, right? And the message is, don't push us, right? Because when
we have a history of doing that, right? I mean, if you look back at events of 100 years ago, whether it's the First World War or the Second World War, we can be proud of those moments. What were we? We were farmers and lumberjacks and fishermen and manufacturing people. And then there's this wacko in Europe that twice they do world wars. And what did Canadians do? Yeah, we pack up, we'll go over there, we'll kick some butt, and then we'll come back to our lives. And and it's not exaggerated to say that the trucker convoy of a couple of years ago was something along those lines. It was people getting fed up and saying, hey, we got to go and solve this problem. So, Tamara's heard this a million times, but I think that the trucking convoy couldn't have come at a better time. And it was a turning point in history, because if it hadn't occurred, I think we would have gone down this path, and I'd be really angry today. So, right now I see a light at the end of the horizon. I think Trudeau's done. I hope he's done.
I agree. I think the trucker convoy, it let Canadians across the country know that, it's not just me. It's not just me that thinks this way. Look at all of these people that agree with me. And because during COVID, you're sitting there on your own and you're just thinking, okay, well, maybe it's just me that's thinking this. And I guess I'll just sit back and shut up. But when they saw the momentum just build across the country from every direction, like some people think that the trucker convoy only originated from one spot, but it came from everywhere. And it really woke people up to the fact that no, like there's a large proportion of people in this country that see something very wrong in Ottawa. And it was something, whether you agree with it or not. It was an event, and there's no denying it. Krusty.
Yes.
Answer the question.
Well, I'm kind of in the same boat as what Clyde was and what Marty was. While I was serving the military, we're not really allowed to display our likes for whatever politician we want. We just go and vote, and we encourage other people to vote too, because it's, pardon my expression, our bloody right to do so. And in Afghanistan, I saw a lot of garbage, and I saw some pain, saw some death. It affected me mentally, emotionally. In 2014, I wanted to say the least, but I overcome that because I got a good foundation. I'm reality based. I did the punk rock thing too in my 20s. I got pictures on my Facebook profile you want to check out, by all means, me raging on stage. But when I was in the service, I believed in Canada. You know, that's why I wear the toque. I wear the maple leaf because I fought for my country. And I speak out against stupidity. You know, I'm a trained leader, so I know what it takes to lead men and women into victory. Doesn't matter what it is. But when I see the example that's been bestowed on us, it's garbage. How else do you say it? It's garbage. You have nepotistic individuals that think they're entitled to what we all do. It doesn't work that way in a parliamentary system. They work for us, and I'll fight to make sure of that. When I saw the convoy, wow, well done. Now, get this, though. When you saw both sides of the fence, people being called terrorists, people being called anarchists, people being Nazis, really? You don't think what Tamara and her friends did was noble? You don't think that freedom is worth fighting for? I carried a rifle and I carried a radio. I watched people die. And you're telling me what they did was not a freedom convoy? Really? Do you want to see blood in the streets? Do you want to see that? Do you want to see chaos and carnage? Death has a smell. It does. It still lingers in a lot of people. A lot of my buddies that were over there, some of them are still over there, up here, like yours truly. So when I do my podcast, I speak from the heart, from my soul. I'm not a religious man, okay? But I don't condemn anybody who is religious. But the moment you take an ideology, doesn't matter if it's religion or liberalism, and you ram it down people's faces, you strive for freedom. Like Marty said, get out of my life, okay? Minimal government. I personally believe don't hit people, take their stuff. It's that simple. Live your life the way you want to. I don't care if you identify as a shoe, as a starship captain, as a man, or as a woman. I don't care. If I'm holding up 4 fingers, I hope to God you sit there and say to me, oh yeah, you got 4 fingers in your hand. Honesty, integrity. Nothing wrong with loving your country, regardless of our history or not. I fought for this land, and I will still die for this land. I'll die for you. I'll die for my family. I'll die for my wife, right? I do have guns. Not that I want to get to that. I don't want the censor saying, hey, you said a bad word. I know how to use them. I know how to fight with or without a firearm. But I also like this medium because I can sit here and speak my mind, and you wonderful people out there and this panel can listen and go, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Just like I listen to Marty. Oh, yeah, I agree. Tamara, I agree, right? We live in a society where everything is so entitled. I grew up, you want something, you bloody well work for it. When I see leadership in this country, they don't work for a bloody thing. What do they work for? What do they struggle to do? No? When Polyev was doing the filibuster there, how many of these politicians going, oh my God, I got to work so late. Oh, I can't believe he's doing this. Oh, our lives are so terrible. It's hard being a politician. Try doing a patrol for 4 goddamn days with your feet bleeding. Then talk to me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So we are seeing an example here of what not to do. So I praise the individuals and the truckers that have protested. I praise the people that have asked the tough questions about the jibby jab. And I will praise and I will fight for anybody to speak their minds as they should, whether I agree or disagree. Freedom of speech is essential, period. Freedom of expression is essential. Freedom is essential.
And that's the important point that you just laid out, Krusty, is that the main difference that has been perpetuated by this ideology, by Trudeau's liberals, is that if they disagree with you, you are demonized, you are admonished, you are ridiculed, and you are called names.
But it goes beyond that. It's they don't want you to have an opposing opinion.
Right. So, and they will do everything possible to deal with that. Like you know, Tamara and many people saw that firsthand. All they were doing is protesting very peacefully. And you have
Exactly.
people on the parliament floor literally calling them terrorists.
And they hid. They all hid away. Oh, we can't be seen with these individuals.
Right.
You
and
represent half of those individuals. What's your problem?
and the funny thing is the NDP and the Liberals think that's saying, well, Pierre was out there with the truckers taking pictures with them, and they're trying to paint that as a bad thing. They're trying to paint that
No,
as
it
something
wasn't.
that
It
he should be
wasn't. It was a
ashamed
good
of.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you hit the nail on the head, and this is where Pierre, I think, walked the walk when he was asked about the Palestinian protesters. When he said, "Well, what do you think about them?" And what they were trying to do is lure him into saying, "Well, you know, they shouldn't be allowed to do that, and they should be arrested, and all this stuff." And his answer was, "I think what they believe in is abhorrent, but they have the right to do it."
Oh, man.
And that's the problem. And that's the thing you have to accept. Clyde, you touched on this. You have to make a sacrifice if you want freedom. And the sacrifice...
I've been touching that with a 10-foot pole. Just like, oh, that's a messy one to get into. Absolutely.
No, but we're not gonna dive into it. But the point is that if you want to allow freedom of speech, you have to be able to be willing to listen to the reprehensible.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, what you're touching on it, absolutely. And the idea of defending free speech is defending the worst speech. You're only going to defend the worst people out there that are saying the most abhorrent things, because everybody, if you agree with it, you don't have to defend it. What's the point?
Right.
You know? So it's always the people that are saying awful things. You have to as a free speech or free expression advocate, you have to defend some of the most awful people. It obviously is unfortunate that that's the position that we have to take, but
Salman Rushdie
It's important to keep
I'm gonna stand on that one.
going anyway. I think we need to be hearing each other out, right?
Yeah,
Everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
Big
But
time.
I think sunlight is the best disinfectant. I mean, that's been said so many times.
Absolutely.
And it really is. Like, if you got bad ideas, share them with the class, everybody. You know, like, let everybody know what your bad ideas are, and then everybody will kind of get an idea of what kind of person you are.
And that's what YouTube Shorts and TikTok videos are for.
Oh.
TikTok.
Anyway, let's get to Tamara. What I've heard this in an interview, but I want to hear it again. In terms of why you got.
Yeah, well, I like a lot of you guys have already said. First of all, before I go any further, Cressy, thank you very much for your service, and to all of our veterans out there who have sacrificed so much for all of us to be able to sit here tonight. I was not a political person, and as a matter of fact, it bored me to tears. And it was after I met my former husband, and he was the kind of guy that always had his nose in a newspaper, and just it started to rub off on me, and I started to pay attention to current events. And this was just about the time, just before the sponsorship scandal broke. And of course, when that hit, I was flabbergasted, and I couldn't believe that the rest of the country wasn't completely outraged. And to follow up with that, my former husband was also in the oil patch, so I learned a lot about the drilling rigs and the process and how all that works. And then I ended up working in the oil patch also. And so what I saw right away was an attack on our industry in Alberta, our main industry in Alberta, and I couldn't fathom why. I'm working in it. I think Canada has one of the most environmentally friendly and efficient energy industries in all of the world. I mean, I've said it before, we should be screaming this from the rooftops, in my opinion, and we're just not doing that. And the opposite was happening. We were being demonized, and they put through C-19 and Bill C-48, both of which are quite clearly attacks on our way of life here. And of course, the whole Trudeau, you know, shortly after he was elected, I remember him calling somebody a racist. I don't remember what the context was, but I remember somebody come out and didn't agree with him, and he was on TV and he called him a racist. And
I
I
have that
remember
clip somewhere.
thinking, so this is how this is going to go. Yeah. So this is how this is going to go. And right about that same time, too, remember there was the Yellow Vest movement that was happening in France, and that a similar movement started, around the globe. And I joined a little group here in Medicine Hat, and we started organizing weekly rallies, pro oil and gas, that type of stuff. And then I just started really to follow what was going on, and I started watching the House of Commons and Question Period and interviews with politicians that were just talking word salad and not making any sense. I started, Question Period, I turned on and I was just flabbergasted. I mean, these are adults in a room in charge of running and managing a country.
Supposedly.
We don't know if they identify as
adults. They can't even answer questions. Supposedly.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. That doesn't always work. I identify as innocent, but that doesn't seem to be working for me so far. And I just grew more and more, disillusioned and disgusted with what I was seeing, which led me to join the Wexit movement that happened here. And that, naturally I joined the Alberta Wexit board as well as the Wexit Canada board. And I learned so much being a part of both of those, and a lot of those skills that I learned being a part of those organizations really helped me in the months to come. And so we built a political party out of nothing, a Western Independence Party, to get more autonomy for the West and a fair shake in Confederation, because it really feels like we're being constantly attacked out here in the West. And there is a certain sense of elitism in Ottawa. I met so many great Ottawa residents, don't get me wrong, but there is definitely a sense of, what are all you dirty middle workers doing here soiling our streets, And so and then of course when COVID hit and I just started watching and I just said things weren't adding up to me, things weren't making sense to me. I was talking to a lot of people that were being really negatively affected by restrictions and mandates, and it just broke my heart. The stories were awful. It was really dark, and we ended up moving back to Alberta in November of 2021. My husband and I both got our jobs back, and a few months later, I found myself in Ottawa.
Oops.
Well done.
Amazing.
Well done.
That's amazing.
That's quite the journey.
Sorry, my dog is deaf and blind, and it's been quite an
so's
adventure.
Trudeau, don't worry.
Trudeau.
Is that a Who song?
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
The deaf, dumb, and blind dog. He's a good pinball player, but
Yeah, Pinball Wizard, baby, yeah.
If any of you want to know more about Tamar's journey, go buy her book. We will we'll see about pasting that in the chat. It's excellent. Fox.
I got the hardcover right here.
Yeah, Fox and I have started reading it. It is a great read. The thing that we love about it is there wasn't some high-priced editor that completely changed all the language in the book. It's Tamara. It's like you're having a conversation with her. It's like she's sitting next to you by your bedside, reading this to you. And that's what I love about it. It is so authentic. It's like,
who's going to play you in the movie, Tamara? Have you thought about that? Have you thought that far?
Well, I wouldn't mind Angelina Jolie, maybe, or Scarlett Johansson or something.
There you go.
She's way too tall to portray you. I'm sorry.
Okay, how about Tom Cruise? Tom Cruise.
I changed my mind. Linda Hamilton. Hamilton.
Darn right. Darn
Definitely.
right.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go.
May I interrupt and ask Tamara a question about that, actually? Did you run into any challenges actually seeking a publisher for your book?
No, I didn't. No, actually, I was approached. Rebel News offered to help me with my book. And so I had no problem. And they made it a fantastic process. Obviously, very therapeutic for me because, before, as I was writing that book, I hadn't been speaking publicly, period, at all. I was kind of in a little cocoon for, over a year.
Well, you would have been in shock, and like just you're just 1 minute you're the unknown Tamara Leach from a small town in Western Canada, and the next minute everyone in Canada knows who you are, and half of Canada is being encouraged to demonize you, while the other half of Canada is cheering you on. It must have been a surreal experience.
And where are the intersectionalists on that point too? They should be cheering a strong, powerful woman in leading the charge.
But she wasn't the right woman.
Political movement.
Yeah. Well, can
Right.
I chime in on this? I mean, it was around this time, like doing the kind of campaigns that I've done in the past, mostly in the States, is that when I started seeing the temperature ramp up and the rhetoric ramp up and the kind of things that were being said, and all of it in lockstep, this is the kind of tactics we use when we're marketing and advertising to basically prime people. But now Clyde knows this. You have to speak in unison, almost like an orchestra. And everybody in the House of Commons, everybody that was outside in the streets being interviewed, like, what is this? Some wackadoodles. Oh, I was abused. Then they said there was a fire, and then a million things was happening way too conveniently all at once. And it's precisely what we would do, albeit in a more eloquent way, if we wanted to, let's say, launch a campaign to convince people, like, hey, shift from this to this. Now, the thing about it, and I'm so grateful to God for this, that they are absolutely inept. And they think that just by throwing money at this, that this is how you fix this messaging. And everything that happened from the Give, Send, Go to just made them look worse. I don't know if you guys noticed, every move they made them look more and more worse. If I had been in that marketing meeting, I would have said, listen, mofos, everybody needs to stop, go get a coffee, just wait a second, let's reassess.
I actually take comfort in the government's ineptitude. Thank God for
Yes.
ineptitude.
Yeah.
There
Yes.
are days.
Yeah.
There are days where people talk about things like, for instance, I'll say the gun grab. Yeah, it worries me at its core, but then I can relax a little bit, thinking, the government's, especially the Liberals, they suck at implementing anything, so they'll never get it going.
It's only when we have faith that they're actually going to do something for us. So like, I'm worried about them coming in and saying we're gonna put in price controls and all this stuff for food because we're gonna make the inflation go away overnight. This is where we've got real problems, because that's when the governments in the past have led to famines. We've watched it through Eastern Europe, through South America, even in
Venezuela.
Time. Yeah, this happens, and people get these awful promises. They're coming in with these new promises of universal basic income. Like, we have the money for that. Come on, it's amazing what they'll promise, and when they don't deliver, it's always excuses or
it's a conservative's fault.
Like walk away from.
Listen, I mean, all of us at least now see clearly that this cannot come from a fourth grade teacher. And so this is essentially what has become very clear. There is bigger players at stake. And because of this, I think we all need to now say, okay, who has similar agendas? Who's promoting and marketing the same message over and over across there? No, it can't be Dr. Doolittle. It has to be like all these countries within the year. I mean, how long ago was it that Greece was completely bankrupted by the European Union? That Brexit was like, we're leaving. We're not staying in this. This is completely unbalanced economics. And we are over leveraged. And now this fourth grade teacher who, like, 2021 was saying Canada is not a country that mandates anything. We're not gonna.
And
then,
his
like,
hair?
on a drop of he had wonderful hair. It was Vidal Sassoon hair.
It's wonderful.
But the point is when you see that kind of a flip in marketing, it's because an executive walked in, said change of directions. Now, I don't know what level is the executive. I don't know what amount of money is the executive, but it certainly was not a Canadian executive. I can tell you that right now. This is money talking at this point. That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
All right.
And he was so terrible. I mean, how do you, as a leader of a country, question whether your own citizens or a portion of your own citizens should be tolerated? And that's the one that sticks with me the most. I mean, it's all been terrible, but hello.
Well, yeah,
they
it was
be tol-
it was that.
These are the people that you're supposed to be looking after.
It was that, and then the jumping over the line on an Evel Knievel motorcycle when he froze the bank accounts. That has never ever been done, and countries from around the world like just snapped their head around and saw what Canada is doing, and they never in a million years would have thought Canada would do something like that.
Well, then even private citizens on the Twitter feeds and social media trying to validate and justify that kind of behavior.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I had a conversation with some wanker tonight about that. You know, he called them the freedomers. And I say, I guess you don't really like freedom, do you? You don't like the opportunity to sit there and say freedommer, do you?
Right.
Like,
be glad you can sit there and say that.
See, that's the thing, you know? And then if you had like the Stasi mentality of people monitoring about your thing online, like Bill C11, jawohl. Wer willst to make you talk? Yes. Oh, you said this the other day. Interesting.
Trudeau is full of scary one-liners. I mean, yeah, I didn't like that one-liner. You know, do we tolerate these people?
Yeah.
I didn't like the one. You know, but nothing sticks to the guy. You know, I didn't. I mean, one-liner that to me I thought was also equally evil is the one he said to veterans, where you're asking for more than we can pay. I remember that day. I'm like, oh, you're doomed. You're doomed, dude. And then it didn't stick. And you know, budgets will balance themselves. So I mean, he's full of these terrible one-liners, and then we Canadians give him a pass on these things. Yeah. And it's, you know, I want to go back to, do we tolerate these people? I mean, I'm getting mad thinking about that one. That was an interview he did in French. That's the one that was one of the interviews that triggered me the most, perhaps. Because I remember translating that one for people, and in the process of translating, you really analyze what he's saying. And I'll say this about Trudeau: when he speaks in French, he says things differently than he does in English. So his brain works differently in French, and in French you hear the truth from him. So if you want to know how scary he is, learn French and listen to him in his native language. He's extremely scary. And when he said that, do we tolerate? What's that?
His old man was the exact same way.
Yeah. And when he said, do we tolerate these people, the rest of the world went, oh my God, what did you just say? But here in Canada, we gave him a pass. That's
well, he said one other thing in the same instant. He said, these people, they take up space. And that was something that people tried to pass off in a different translation. They tried to say like, oh no, what he meant was that they muscle people out. It's like, no, he literally said, they take up space. Like what are you inferring on that?
In French, he said, ils prennent la place. And ils prennent la place, which means they take up space. He literally, in French, what he said is absolutely disgusting.
But you know what I find funny about that, Marty, is all this was coming off the heels of sample voting that the Liberals were doing when they started their pandemic. So they weren't really basing this off of what he actually thought. I don't think he has a singular intelligent thought in his brain. The people that are coming to him are saying, we took this poll across these amount of scared people across Canada.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I think that incident, that moment was an unscripted Trudeau, and an unscripted Trudeau, that's the scary one. I mean, in that unscripted moment, you saw the real him, which is he despises people. He despises people.
Hold on. I'm going to push back on that, because after that interview, remember they had kids on that same interview, and they started asking them, how would you feel if about these people that don't take these things? And what I think it was is that, and again, I'm speaking as somebody that works in marketing, you want to add validity to this guy's statement. So what do? You take innocence, which is children.
Think of the children.
And then you make them say things that corroborate what this person is saying, which is supposed to add validity to what he was saying. The whole thing was manipulation.
I remember that class. Yeah, that classroom one. That was a sick one too. You're right, Vesper.
That was so. What I'm saying is, I think this was a concerted effort, and it's what's sick about it is that they all knew that if they just kept repeating this and repeating this, that the gullible. What's that line that I love from Thomas Sowell? He says, "The gullible are always ready to believe what the next charlatan is ready to sell." And
Yeah,
unfortunately,
I heard that,
Canadians are just naturally good people. That's what we've been known for. It's not that we're stupid, but we're not looking to be fucking overturned by tyrannical government. Why would I think that you're about to pull $500 billion out of the Federal Reserve to buy 10 times the amount of, piqûre for every person in Canada? Why would I think that? Well, we got to save people.
So on that note, we're gonna move on to construction cronies. I want to get his answer, and this has been a fascinating discussion. Just continue as we are, folks.
No joke. Well, yeah, Jesus, what was the question?
What got you interested in politics? How'd you get started doing this? Yeah.
No, I guess I've always been political. I just was raised by entrepreneurs, and my mom was kind of a bit of a hippie, and taught me, to question everything and to, believe nothing I hear and only half of what I see and that sort of stuff, right? And so I just always followed it, and I always thought, I always had a major distrust for authority, and I still do. I don't know. I grew up in Ontario in a highly corrupt system, and I'm just a very observant person, and I research things, and I experience things, and I end up leaving Ontario to come to Alberta, this place is amazing, and the politics, like from there to here, and just I don't know. There's just a lot of corruption in the systems, right? The cops and the courts and the school systems, like it's crazy, right? And then even our hospitals, like if you talk to hospital staff, like the nurses and stuff, and find out like the shenanigans that go on there and stuff, it's like it's pretty crazy, man. Oh yeah, I forgot to. Thanks for your service, Chris Canuck. I wanted to thank you for your service.
No worries.
It's mad respect. I had military history in my family, but my father and I kind of broke that tradition, and my grandparents were World War II veterans, and
so are mine.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, man. Actually, I got a photo of him over here. I could show you later, maybe. But yeah, I like to speak up and do as much as I can. But I mean, I respect you guys who stand up and show your faces, and like I'm like a little bit more.
You hear that? He doesn't respect us.
No, totally. No, I'm mad. I'm no. Oh no.
I
mean,
it's over, dude. You said it. Just move on. Just move on. Just move on.
Listen to the marketing expert.
We need leaders, and that's what all of you guys are. They're leaders, right? And I believe everyone in the chat here, they're all leaders. That's why we're all here, okay? Because we realize that there's people that I don't want to call them like dumb, but naive and like easily manipulated. There's a huge machine working against us, right? And like Trudeau, like he's just a guy, like he's just doing a good job. He looks good. He can talk well. Like that's all they needed. You know what I mean? So I mean he's connected. Whatever. It's the machine that's behind him that's scary, right? Like I've always kind of been around in the background. In my later years, because when I was younger, getting arrested and going to jail and all that crap
That was part of life.
Corrupt stuff, and like it was just no fun, right? So yeah. I tend to stay away from the big scenes as much as I can, unless I'm hiding behind a camera. But
for sure.
Yeah, I participate. I vote. I donate. I sign petitions, and I share things. I do what I can, and my main goal is to kind of focus on my main community, right? Like I think we need to focus on our local communities, and I believe in more self-governance. And like the man is just like he's way overstepping these days, and they've spent like the last 100 years, or how many years have we had the Constitution? Probably not even 100 years yet, right? Like what is it?
Since May of '82.
Sorry,
May of '82.
The actual Canadian Constitution, May of '82.
Yeah, like and they've spent the whole time ever since trying to rewrite it and protect themselves, and like this, just filling the courts and building up case law and changing policies and all this stuff, blah blah blah. But yeah, I think it's great to see everyone here, and what a panel, what a bunch of great people here. So yeah, I literally just try to, like I was saying, keep it local. I call out construction. I'm in construction, and it's another one of those, could be pretty shady at times, and there's corruption there, and yeah, I do everything by the books, and I try to call out bullshit. So
Teamsters.
Teamsters,
You know,
yeah. So I was union in Ontario, but out here,
Said by the
it's
book.
all
He
non-union
did
stuff.
say that.
You know, one thing I find interesting about every single person in this panel is that people think that we're anti-liberal party.
No,
We're anti any party. Every single person in this panel is any party that basically screws with the Canadians' freedom or Charter of Rights or anything will turn on that party. This has nothing to do with the Liberal Party. If the CPC do this, I'm turning on them.
Exactly.
If the NDP do this, I'm turning on them. And every single person in this panel is like that. They're for truth and for freedom. They're not here
Actually, no, and I think 3 or 4 of us are from Alberta, and people have said that about Albertans. They say, hey, you guys just went through like whatever 10 premiers in the last 10 years. I'm like, and we'll go through 10 more if we have to until we find good ones. Like, people say, how could you kick out Kenny? It's like, well, we elected him, and he turned out to be a snake in the grass, so he's gone. And
well, look what he did. Exactly.
Yeah, and we and I mean. I'm not against governments, because I do agree that we live in a society and it functions better if we have a few little rules. But yeah, I'm not entirely anti-liberal or anti-conservative. I just want the small government that we do have to be held accountable. And if you're not accountable, I'll slam you all day. If Danielle Smith starts misbehaving, I'll be the first one in line to start giving her shit.
Absolutely.
Well, it's funny because at the beginning here, everybody's doing their introductions, and a big, thing that a lot of people were saying was, I'm political because I'm forced to be. I'm political because I have to be, because this government has gone way beyond its bounds. And what I wrote in the chat was, as soon as the Liberals are out, my job is just beginning, because when the Conservatives come in with a bunch of promises, we better make sure
they keep them.
I'm going to be on them to make sure that they deliver on all of that. And if not, then I'm going to hold their feet to the fire. And I think there might be a big sub drop in my account if I start speaking ill of Pierre or people that are into it because they like a personality or something like that. I don't care. I'm really in it for freedom. I'm really in it for liberty, the concept of pushing forward a society that is self-determining. You govern yourself. This is the experiment that we started with.
I can tell you right now, Clyde, you will lose viewers. I can tell you right now, because I got a lot of shit when I started criticizing Kenny. And I'm like, okay, well, if you want to, you're not my friend because I'm criticizing Kenny. Move on. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy.
Truth.
Easy. But it's good, because then I'll have that opportunity to have this discussion with people that are already viewers. Because people will be like, "Oh, Clyde, why are you taking that stance against somebody that I love?" I'm like, well, because he's making decisions that I don't think are right. And let's talk about this now. Now we have an opportunity to discuss this and make this a line of dialogue that we can have in our society, in Western society, not just Canada. We're talking about like the potential loss of the Western civilization. And yeah, I want to have a say in it. I want to have a conversation about it. I want to get people talking about it. If that makes me unpopular with some people, well, so be it. That's just the way it's going to have to go. I mean, really have a go for it.
If Tamara, if it were, and I can't imagine this happening, if this were the Harper government that did this 3 years ago, would you not have done the same thing?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hands
No
down.
question.
Yeah. Hands down.
Yeah.
Like, so
I mean, the bottom line is that Canadians deserve better. Canadians deserve better, period. We are, in my opinion, some of the best people on the earth. When it really counts, we always come together, and that's what makes us who we are. And that's what was so prevalent, during the whole convoy in Ottawa was, the people that just came together, that strangers that didn't know one another.
Yeah,
you know,
and we see that
and
in
we
event
deserve
after
better.
event.
Whether yes, we deserve better.
And to close off this this segment, you know, and that's why I think we all get along so well, and because we all know that we have a responsibility. Any person on YouTube has a responsibility, and this is where, you know, call it preachy, but you know, we've seen this recently. But I think YouTubers have a responsibility to be very careful about the message that they're putting out there, because you have a lot of influence in how people take that information and decide what to do with it. And you know, it can't be just for clicks. One of the problems that we all are actively fighting against on our channels is the fact that, well, okay, so if somebody disagrees with a conservative, you know, you can't then take this mob mentality that has been ingrained in the left, that has, you know, come after everybody. That's not what you do. Clyde, you said it earlier, you know, let's unpack it. Let's have a conversation. And it's okay to disagree. It's okay. I don't think we'll get to the question because of the quality of the discussion we're having, but there's a question that I had on my list to ask everybody. What's one thing you disagree with the conservatives on? And I guarantee every one of us has something we disagree with the conservatives on, at least one.
Oh, God, yes. God,
And,
yes. Big time.
and you know, maybe on election day, some people may not vote conservative. That's fine.
One thing? No, there's a lot of
Shut up.
things.
Shut up.
All right.
But before we get to Barnaby, we got a bunch of super chats. I want to start with this one. It's the last one that came in. Thank you so much, Milady Loves Catch, with a $279.99 super chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The convoy was my life-saving event. Literally saved my life. All my gratitude, Tamara. Then I discovered Clyde, Vesper, and Marty. These guys got me to get on X. That led me to Northern Perspective, who reignited my lost interest in politics. Krusty Canuck, getting to know you. Love to all. Thank you so much. So
amazing. Amazing.
Fox.
I used to tell people I go to Twitter so you don't have to. That used to be a thing.
There you go. All right, let's get to some of these contributions.
Yes, we're gonna read off the super chats. So thank you to Glenn Stewart with a $5 super chat. Says thank you guys for standing up for this country and doing all you have. And we have the Phoenix of Legacy with the $2.79 super chat. Says we need to get a national autism strategy. Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely,
it's
we
something
do.
that something that I was going to run on in my campaign.
Todd McCullough with a $13.99 super sticker. Thank you. And we have Adam_C_Adian says, congratulations, guys. Love you all. And you guys and your panel helped me personally get through the last few years with some semblance of sanity. LOL.
Excellent. Good to hear that.
And we're welcoming Dan Deman 966V2 to NP supporter.
Thank you so much.
We want to say thank you to Humble Tracker with a $50 super chat. It says, remember that the life we live is the life we chose. If you start dreaming of better days, they will come. I believe in karma and times are about to change. Be ready to see further than the tip of your nose. Freedom is never free. A price will be.
Well
Very
said.
good. Excellent.
Well said.
Thank you to Frank with the $5 super chat. It says UBI has been trending again on X. I hope people will see it for the disaster it would be for inflation.
Well, they'll see it for the disaster that everybody on the panel thinks it is.
Yeah, maybe that one.
If you want to get more into that discussion, Marty and we did a recording of that particular discussion. I mean, if we get into it tonight, that's fine too. But we dove pretty deep into it, and that video will be up tomorrow morning on my channel.
Excellent.
Awesome.
So
everybody check that out.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Will do.
Now we have Robert Hampson. Welcome to MP supporter, and Humble Tracker gifting 10 Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very much. We have a $5 super chat from Don Wickenden. It says, enjoying a spade slide single malt just for you, Marty.
There you go, Marty.
We have Margarita Cardoso with a $2 super chat. It says, I agree with Marty up north. That was me prior to COVID. And then we have Yuji Tai with a $20 super chat. It says, Canada's best journalists altogether, voluntarily giving my money to this cause. Thank you
so
very
much.
Awesome. Yuji, best coffee guy in Canada. I know that name.
Thank you to Kathy Sharp with a $10 super chat. It says, the trucker convoy made me smile from ear to ear. I sobbed uncontrollably. I had faith in my fellow countrymen again. Thank you all on this panel for all that you do. And we have Justin with a $1 super chat. Thank you. And then we have Adam_C_Canadian with a $5 super chat. Says, I drew the line when it said it was perfectly safe, yet it's brand new technology. I figured I'd sit this one out. Glad my fam did, to say the least. And we have Robert McFallion with a $5 super chat. You folks should be heading the foreign interference inquiry.
Yes, we should. Yes, we should.
I would love that.
Hey,
I want to.
yeah,
I want to
could
be
you
the.
imagine?
Sign me up.
I got to be the Ministry of Propaganda. I call it first.
All right. Fine.
We have Jeff with
Well, they have that. They have that ministry. I mean, it's
No, they're inept. They don't know how to
Yeah, it's
do
called
it.
the CBC.
Oh, yeah.
well,
Yeah,
it is the
right.
Ministry of Heritage. That is. I mean, it used to be that's essentially what it was. The Ministry of Propaganda.
Yes.
And propaganda is funny is
Thank
because
God they are inept.
well, the funny part is propaganda was not actually a bad term until the funny mustache clan came around, right? Like those people came around, and it was Goebbels who took
Weaponized
full advantage of that. And later on, it was actually Sigmund Freud's nephew, Edward Bernays, who said, we're going to rebrand this. We're going to instead of call it propaganda, we're going to call it public relations. And this became like the whole new thing. And I mean, Vesper knows a thing or two about this because that's his whole career is involved in public relations, priming people, getting people to look where they want you to look and sell you products or get you to think a certain way. And governments don't for a second don't have a lot invested in exactly that. And through the Canadian government, it's all through the heritage, the Ministry of Heritage in Canada.
Interesting. I didn't know
Might as well be called the Propaganda Ministry.
Don't disagree.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, now they got Valaquette, who's going to completely screw it up, which is exactly what Trudeau would do.
Well, Trudeau hired him, so it's
There you go.
not going to go well. So, all right. Let's
Thank
keep going.
you to Jeff with a $5 super chat. This one's for Tamara. It says, Tamara, whatever happened to donations? Did they get refunded? Did Canadians donate 10 million twice? Are you permitted to answer that?
Or should we park that?
Oh yeah, no, I can answer that. Yeah, the GoFundMe money was actually all refunded, and I think if you remember, GoFundMe came out and said at the beginning that they were going to send refunds to anyone that requested them, and then Governor DeSantis stood up and said, "No, that's fraud, and if you do that, I'm going to have you investigated." And so GoFundMe ended up refunding all of the donations that was sent to them. GiveSend refunded the majority of donations, and the rest of it is sitting in an escrow account under a seizure order by the Attorney General of Ontario and a forfeiture order by the Attorney General of Ontario also. So yeah, everything was refunded or it's locked up in an escrow.
Okay, thank you for that.
We have Tempest with a $5 super chat. It says, I'd love to hear the panel's thoughts on the upcoming Gaza refugee crisis that's about to hit Canada. Love each and every one of you. Honk, honk.
We'll see if we get to that
Yeah,
later.
we'll see if we can get to that topic.
You want me to chime in? I mean, I have a thing that because I stewed over this one a lot. I could chime in on it.
Well, let's get through the super chats.
Yeah, and then maybe
Okay.
come back around to it. So we have Glenn Stewart with a $5 super chat. Says he wants to separate Quebec and no Canada. He made the statement Quebec can survive without Canada.
No, they can't.
No, they can't.
No,
Maybe.
For a little while, at least, but no, they can't.
Vesper, you're always welcome in British Columbia. Come on out here, man.
I want them to show us.
You got cookies.
I think they should do
Go on.
whatever they want. If they
Yeah,
want,
I always say to Quebecers, put your money where your mouth is. I've heard lots of them say they can survive without us. I'm like, gladly, show us how it's done, man.
65% of them don't want to separate, so they'll move out right quick. And then what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got Don
Yeah.
Wickenden.
Well, my experience in Quebec in the last, because Dwayne and I basically lived there for the first 2 months of our trial, and I'm going to tell you that there's a lot of very conservative Quebecois, much like the rest of us. They're suffering under their politics also.
They sure are.
Yeah.
Well, they got a job
I'm
ahead of
learning a
them
lot.
because their job is to convince
They
the
do.
rest of Quebec to not vote the way they've been voting. Because the problem is there's a whole portion of Quebec that we cannot communicate with. They don't get our information from us. They see us on social media. They don't read it. They don't know what it says. There's a lot of people that we can't reach. And I think the establishment relies on that. They love that fact. They love the fact that they can manipulate this group of people into doing things that they want or thinking a certain way. And it's really unfortunate. And it's because of language barriers. And it's language barriers that they've self-imposed on themselves. It doesn't need to be this way. I wish it wasn't this way. And I humbly welcome everybody into Canada. But that's the thing. Like, come on, let's all be on the same page here.
Yeah, for a bilingual country, I really wish that the education system, like across the whole country, not just Quebec, really focused on ensuring that citizens were bilingual or giving them the tools to make themselves bilingual. Like I have cousins in Europe that speak like 5 different languages.
That's right.
And because that's how they're taught there, but we're not.
Yeah, no,
taught
my
that
kids are
way.
bilingual and it's fantastic. They speak English and Japanese fluently.
That's great. Send them to Quebec and see how they do.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Since I'm the Quebecer here, let me give you a picture, and as an artist, if you want a snapshot of Quebec, just look at our roads and how we build our roads. There is literally no other province like the way Quebec construction is. Roads go everywhere and anywhere. There's no line. Everything is crooked. They redo the same construction 50 times. It gets flooded. The amount of money poured into construction in Quebec, the Laval mayor was arrested for this kind of stuff. So Quebec is this stronghold of corruption. And you can just tell by looking at our roads. Just look at our roads. There's no
Highway 20
order.
eastbound there, Vesper? Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
On the way to New Brunswick?
Oh,
Terrible.
Dude, no logic. No logic.
Terrible highway. I know.
There's
everything.
It's
Okay, let's get through these super chats and we'll keep going.
Yeah, we're going to get through the rest of them.
We've got Don Wickenden with a $5 super chat. Says, can we make sure the next candidate has a bigger IQ than a crayon, please?
We'll do.
No promises if he's
That's
liberal. Glenn Stewart with a $2 super chat. The Great 8 tonight. Great 9, we've got Barnaby too. Don't forget Barnaby.
Poor Barnaby.
8.5.
He's hiding in the corner there. Jay King with a $9.99 super chat says, tomorrow I shook your hand in Redcliffe at Truckers. Dan, my hubby, and I lost our gas station on Broadway because of Notley and Trudeau's screwing energy industry. You inspired me to carry on.
There you go.
Oh, sorry, Tamara didn't get to hear that one. Maybe you can repeat it when she comes back.
Yeah, I definitely will. Sorry, the screen I'm looking at is delayed compared to what's actually happening in real time. So. But,
okay, yeah.
We can reread that one for sure.
There you go. Perfect opportunity right
excellent.
now.
You're back.
I can hear it
This
anyways.
one's for
I got
you.
my earbuds in.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, did you
I can
hear it?
you
Okay,
guys.
perfect.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Mr. King.
So we have George Hampton with a $10 super chat. It says, keep up the great work. Thank you, we will. I'm sure we all will. Robert McFallon with a $20 super chat says, Clyde helped me find you, Vesper, Marty, and the Celtic Canuck. Awesome. See,
Awesome.
Clyde's
Celtic Canuck is
responsible
great
for it
as
all.
well. I'm not. I make a lot of videos and I talk to a lot of people and,
All right,
and that's
fine.
really what it
Clyde,
is.
you suck. There you go. Is that better?
Thank you. I appreciate it. I suck. I'm just consistent. That's all.
We have Paradoxy with a $100 super chat. It says, I send this on behalf of all of us in the chat. A wish for each of you to know how much you give Canadians hope, smiles, and belief in better times and the energy to fight alongside anyone standing for freedom.
Does Clyde, Marty,
I appreciate you saying that.
Krusty, well, I guess even Tamara. Am I the only one that gets like a little emotional whenever I hear people type in those super chats or like, you know, just talk to you and tell you that? Is that can't be just me?
No.
It's honorable.
I'm tearing up listening to it. Yeah,
It's honorable.
it's so emotional.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt there, Tamara.
It's okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I will do my spiel and everybody will do their spiel there. It's honorable because I've seen the violence, and it's honorable that people are backing us up. But we want to tell you people out there too in internet land, back yourselves up as well. You know, like I say to Cipher and Fox, I got your six. That means I got your back. We got to watch each other's backs. Stand up for what's right. Demand truth and honesty. Because when I was doing my campaign with the Veterans Coalition Party, it was basically not the person, not the party, but the constituents and the country. That is the parliamentary system. And that goes as far back as Oliver Cromwell when he was taken on King Charles in the English Civil War. We don't need a civil war. We don't need the chaos and the carnage, because you'll see a lot of veterans come out of the woodwork, turn on the machine again, and then
Bad
that's
things
just
happen.
exactly. I'll turn on my machine again. Someone backs me into a corner, says, "You can't say this. You can't have that. Watch me." And then that'll be it. So we got to have our backs, ladies and gentlemen. It's that simple. You know, stand with what's right. Liberty or nothing at all. And not the American liberty like some of these old 1960s liberals talk about. Oh, if you want liberty and guns, go to live in the States. Why can't we have liberty and guns here? Why can't I have hemp? Why can't I grow something? Why can't I create my own electricity? Why can't I be creative? Why can't I share these ideas with people? What are you afraid of? What are you scared of? Oh, that's right. You won't have control over me. Good.
Control and money.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We have Will Cowlchuck with a $10 super chat. It says, I would like to thank everyone for all you do. And Clyde, I have watched you for years, and thank you for all you and NP and the panel for all you do.
Very
Well,
well.
thank you. I really appreciate that.
That's awesome.
We have some gifted memberships. Quinn Holmes has gifted 5 Northern Perspective memberships. Humble Trackers gifted another 10. We have Kathy Gassian with 1 gifted Northern Perspective membership. We have Don Wickenden with 5 Northern Perspective memberships. Kathy Gassian with another Northern Perspective gifted membership. And Rick Penkosekos with a $100 super chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for your support. And Tamara, just so you know, Humble Tracker donated a $100 super chat, and she's asked us to send that your way. So we intend to honor that request.
Oh.
So,
Thank you very much.
so
And Northern Perspective just gifted 5 Northern Perspective memberships.
yeah, we learned how, that we
Merry
can do
belated Christmas.
You'll have to show me how to do that. I don't know.
Yeah,
how to
I
do
will.
that.
I will.
Yeah, Fox just learned it the other day. So. Anyway,
Right.
okay. So last but not least, Barnaby.
What
Why
got
did you
you
end up
involved?
Oh yeah,
political.
Barnaby's still here.
Oh, holy cow. Wow, we ignored that the entire time.
That's all right. I know my job.
Know your role.
Show me your leadership capabilities.
So funny.
So to recap, because I think every time anybody's spoken, we've gone on for like 10 minutes. So the question now is how we got interested or how we became politically aware and awake. Correct?
Well, yeah, because I literally just re-asked the question 10 seconds ago. Welcome to the stream.
Did you? Oh.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Here we are.
Well, give him
That's
a
good.
break.
He's paying attention to the
yeah,
chat.
I was
That's
say he's
good.
working the chat too. Come on.
He's doing his job.
What is it? Why did you just call him Igor? Like you're talking to him.
Encyclopedia. Yay.
So for me, anyways, politics. I became politically active and aware, and this is funny. The night I was watching I think it's the second or third presidential debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
Classic.
Yeah.
And I had a moment where I'm watching this, and I literally, the thought ran clear through my mind. I think I said it out loud. These are the candidates? What? I'm like, and I had that moment where I'm like, am I like dreaming this? Is this like what is happening? Because I'm listening to Donald Trump be Donald Trump. And at the time I had no love at all for the man. No, like I believed he was a clown, and what he was doing was all for his own ego and so on and so forth, which, by and large, is still sort of true and parallel with everything. We don't need to get down that road right now. And then listening to Hillary Clinton's responses to his belligerence during that debate, his childish belligerence during that debate, and her responses were no better. Like, yeah, they were prettier, yeah, they were more political, but they were no better in the root of their meaning when she responded to him, and I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And then the second, like the double whammy, was the night he was elected, and I went to bed thinking, okay, well, Hillary Clinton's going to be president in the morning, and because after that debate, I tuned in for the election, and then in the morning, sure enough, there he was, president of the United States. And all of a sudden, I had to pay attention to what was going on.
You mean hold on? You mean you didn't notice when he said it's Gina? You didn't notice that?
I mean, it became the best reality TV show on television. Is what happened.
Am I the only one on the panel that saw it coming?
Yeah,
yes,
dude.
yes, you are.
I'm like,
Yes,
I won a huge bet on this.
So therefore, you were the only one that saw it coming.
Yeah, I honestly, I with a coworker, I won this bet. I think it was like $150 or something. It started off as a $20 bet, and every time he would mess up and do something like
like double or nothing,
just grab her by the whatever.
Yes,
and it would be like, are you sure about this bet? And I said, yeah, he's gonna win. Oh yeah, you want to double down? Sure, I'll do that. And it got to the point where it was like $150, and I won that bet.
but I mean,
Awesome.
but isn't that like an indictment on how these politicians are just not reading their citizens?
yes, it is.
Like, isn't that?
Yeah, people were fed up with it.
Exactly.
Like, how can you not know? Like, Bud Light is the poster child of every politically messed up government in this world right now. How can you not read how can you not read your constituents?
Well, Bud Light,
Bud Light was the
like,
Hillary Clinton campaign.
Yeah. Well, and the other funny thing is so if you watch the comedian Jim Jeffries, if you don't know who he is, look him up. He's hilarious.
Oh yeah, he's
Australian.
good.
He was hilarious.
Oh, I haven't seen his recent
woke.
stuff. Oh, crap.
Oh, did he?
No.
Where have I been?
It's been a while.
Oh, you
He
should
went
wait until
woke
after the stream to tell me that.
5
Now I'm
years
going to be in
ago.
a bad mood the rest of the stream.
Oh yeah, no.
Well,
Jim Jeffries was
you
funny.
just broke my heart, Clyde. Well,
He broke your heart. Don't blame it on me.
That's just a messenger.
Anyway, there was one stand-up he was doing, and he was talking about the election down there, and this was my mentality. And he said, "You know what? Part of me just says, fuck it, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens, and make him president." And then he's like, "Oh crap, he won."
Well, my theory at the time, and I thought Trump could do, if Trump did this, it would be one of the most awesome moments in history to live through, was that he would win, and then that it would all have been something that he did just to prove that he could, and that he would like have like a mic drop moment and be like, "All right, well, this was fun. You guys figure it out. You're idiots," and walk away. Like,
Yeah, you guys
actually
elected me.
Oh, that was
you
me.
elected me. You're
Yeah,
all
but that was
idiots.
a
This
real
system is
thought, though. A
stupid.
lot of people didn't think that Trump would stay in power for more than 30
Yeah,
years.
you're right,
Actually,
Marty.
that
There was many analysts that
a
were
real
saying that he was only
sentiment.
going to stay
There's
for
a
like 6
lot of
months.
people- Yeah.
Sure.
I would have taken that bet with you, Clyde. I think I made money too on Trump. I knew Trump was going to win. And I think he could win again easily. But
He won. Well, I mean, he lost the last one.
But
Sorry.
it is sad, though. It is sad that in a country of 200 million, that's the best they can do. I mean, we're a country of 40 million, and look at what we're doing. We're in the same boat. I mean,
Yep.
Well, yeah,
you know,
it's not
but the
that
system
not
is
that
corrupt.
different.
I mean, good people don't want to go into politics. I think that's just a given. You know, I accept politicians right now as corrupt and not good people.
Well, I
Even
think
the
the
ones that I
issue-
like,
That plays
I don't
into
really
the
admire them.
that plays into the apathy, and something that I wanted to come back to that Tamara said. I wanted to disagree with you, Tamara. You made the point that Canadians deserve better.
Yeah.
And I think we got exactly what we deserved. I think we got a kick in the face, and that's what we've been getting for our apathy.
I think we got
Because
exactly
I
what
was
we needed.
apathetic beforehand.
I think we got
And
what
now
we
I'm not.
needed because to that point, Canadians had not been paying attention to politics, and
Yes.
but I would say everyone should thank Trudeau and thank the governments for the lockdowns, because I've said this on other shows. Because of the lockdowns, all of the entertainment, all of society's distractions were taken away, and what was left? The government. Nothing else was left to pay attention to but the government. So the government inadvertently put a microscope on what they were doing, and that was what Canadians were then forced to watch. And they watched, and they paid attention.
Yeah, but again, I don't know who I agree or disagree with, but yeah, we get what we deserve. I agree with that statement. I live in Alberta, man. We almost re-elected Rachel Notley.
Right?
So
That was scary,
to me,
Marty.
she's as bad as Trudeau, and we had to fight tooth and nail
Yeah.
to make sure she didn't get reelected. So when somebody asked me, can Trudeau get reelected? Absolutely, he can get reelected. And I'll even say, well, could mandates reappear? We didn't learn our lessons, man. Most people got jabbed so they could walk to go get a freaking latte or watch their kid play hockey. So how shallow are we as Canadians? That's how shallow we are. So our battle is not over. I mean, we got to keep fighting and busting these narratives and bringing up facts, and because the apathy is huge, and people will sell themselves for like morsels. I mean, that's why this UBI scares the shit out of me right now, because people will go, oh yeah, a $2,000 check every month. Click, count me in, man. They'll vote for that. They'll absolutely vote for that.
Well, the one thing I'll say to that is I wouldn't, and I don't know if you meant it this way. I wouldn't criticize the people that chose to get the jab, because a bunch of people just did it because they wanted to. They thought it was the right thing, and that's fine. I don't bemoan anybody who made that choice. And
I'm not criticizing people who got the jab. I'm just saying that let me not criticize the people. What I'm saying is people get easily coerced.
Got it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So people, it disappoints me how it's the scene in not in Casino, but in what's the movie with Joe Pesci and anyways, Goodfellas, where he's laughing at him and he says, "Be careful because you'll fold under pressure." People fold under pressure so easily. Holy smokes!
Yeah, they do. They do. So let's transition into a question, and this is one I've been looking forward to, because we get this question all the time on our channel. Clyde, you probably get on yours. Krusty, you probably get on yours. Marty, you know that you get on yours, because we see this everywhere. A lot of Canadians feel that, well, I'm just Joe in Yellowknife. I'm just Jane in Petitcodiac, New Brunswick. I'm just Bob in Surrey, BC. I can't do anything. There's nothing that I can do to have a positive impact on Canada, because I'm just one person. So what advice would you give to a Canadian that feels that alone and feels that there's nothing they can do? It's almost not even worth voting. What would you say to them? So let's start with Barnaby, since you were last time.
Well, I think perhaps you might suggest to people that it begins with being the person who is willing to express the opinion that goes against the grain, and that doesn't mean that we're talking about like some kind of political rally or some kind of public address or anything big like that. We're talking about a line at Tim Hortons. We're talking about overhearing a conversation, joining in on it and saying, no, that's not true. Here's what's actually happening. Here's the thing that happened. This is the truth about this bill. Go look it up. Here you go. Right? Those conversations can happen every day. And that's the difference you can make. It doesn't have to be a big, giant gesture or put on, you know, a yellow vest and go to a rally, or, you know, you don't have to do those things. All you have to do is be open about that, talk to people, and educate others. That's all you really have to do day to day to make a difference.
Chris, Construction Cronies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. To build on what Barnaby says, the conversations, absolutely. But I mean, I would say just keep doing, like, do what you're doing. You're informing yourself. We need to be informed, and we need to know what's going on. And like, I go back to knowing what's going on in your community and talking to people in your community, like your neighbors or wherever you are. You know, like, just be involved. Know what your local politicians are doing and what's good for your local communities. It's really sad when we have to pay so much attention to the feds. Like, we really shouldn't have to pay any attention to those guys, but you know, these days we do, right? Because they're so out of line. But just keep informed, educate, vote, get people to vote. Like, there's nothing more important than voting. Like, everyone needs to get to the voting. You know, it's so important. Not enough people do that, right? And yeah, like, it's sad. Like, there's, like I was saying, there's all these echo chambers in our institutions, and we really feel like we have this false idea of what, like, each party represents, you know. And I feel like if people were paying attention more, then they would know who to vote for on that day, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sharing information and being here, being present, that's huge. That's what we need to do. That's the only thing we can really do.
And Tamara, you were that person that, you know, at one point maybe you felt that, you know, well, what can I do? But then you picked up the phone.
I absolutely was that person, and I remember I was asked to give a speech back in the Yellow Vest days out of the back of a pickup truck, and I sat down to write it, and I really wasn't sure, you know, what I was going to say. I mean, I'm not a public speaker; it's just not who I am, and I thought, well, what am I feeling? And so it was called "I Am Somebody," and I started off by, you know, basically saying, you know, I'm sorry because I thought somebody else was going to come and fix this problem, and so I waited. And I thought somebody was going to step in when C-69 and C-48 went through and say, this is enough, you know. And I watched all this stuff happen, and nobody was doing anything.
Yeah.
And so I realized I had to stop waiting for somebody else to fix the problem. You know, we all have to get involved. And like you said, it doesn't have to be, you know, a great big event. It is just like Chris said, just, you know, get involved, educate yourself, just being aware. And from my experience, just becoming aware of what was actually going on in the political world and in our country, you know, helped me immensely and gave me some direction and the things that I wanted to get involved in to try and affect positive change. And so, it's been said many times, get involved in your local school board even, or, you know, run for local council, or there's so many things that you can do. And it doesn't matter the scale. Every bit is just as important. You know, it's just as important to read an article in the newspaper as it is to do anything else, because you're contributing for the greater good, for positive change.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Krusty.
Well, focus on this.
Well, absolutely.
Right. And as Tamara and everybody else said, get into the local politic, ask the tough questions. Like I've said in my show numerous times, if you do have a town hall with your representative, doesn't matter if he or she's an MLA or MPP or a federal MP, get on your feet and say, what's your stance on this? And don't sit there and say, well, the constituents want this, the constituents want that. No. What's your stance? Give me your opinion. This is where the opinions have to come out. Doesn't matter what party you're with. Doesn't matter what flag you represent, who your favorite hockey team is. Come out and say it, man. Right? An example of that was Damien Keurig, how he stood up in Parliament and he pointed across the hall, the row, and he called them liars. Now, regardless of the penalties you have to take in Parliament because the parliamentary language, that man spoke from the heart. Well done. Well effing done.
100%.
That's what we have to do. Regardless if you agree with this policy or that policy, you got to do that. You're representing your constituents. And in some of these ridings, you're seeing constituents that have maybe 10,000 people compared to my riding that has 80,000 people. And then you get somebody who represents 10,000 people making these decisions like, Miss Freeland, why does she tilt her head like that? Like, what is she, her puppy or something? What?
Clyde did a video on that. Check it out.
Blonde.
Man, it's like, crack don't smoke.
I've seen a video on everything.
Yeah.
Really?
But even on that, Crest.
Clear.
Yeah. Even on that,
Very clear.
I think it's important that, and people may not think about this, and people may get tired of Fox and I saying, write your MP. But when you see a politician do something like that, like Mr. Keurig did, he stood up, took some consequences. It's important that they know that there's people out there that support that are acknowledging that people are speaking truth. And they may not even be an elected member of parliament. They could be somebody in your community that they're standing up and they're saying something and people are trying to cancel them about it. It means the world. Literally, the difference between continuing on in that fight and giving up for somebody else to come up to you and say, hey, that was amazing. I agree with you. I support you. And that's all you have to say. That is such a powerful point of participation in any political process, even just saying to somebody, I support what you're doing. Please do that. And that will encourage them to continue speaking the truth, to continue standing up, to continue taking the abuse that they're taking for speaking against an ideology that cannot stand to hear facts and truth. So
to that point, actually, at least in terms of how it works with products and services, you'll get 1 million complaints before you get one good testimonial, good compliment from a customer. So imagine how important that one compliment really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what the MPs get. They get thousands and thousands of emails telling them what a crappy job that they're doing, but maybe one that says what a great job they're doing. And that's why, when we encourage our viewers to email Damien Keurig after we reviewed that, and we did as well, his communication director emailed us back and said, thank you very much. A lot of your viewers mentioned that you're the reason that they actually emailed Damien. And it was just great to hear, A, that they're getting the emails, B, that people are choosing to write, and C, that they're actually responding back and saying thank you for writing these. Like, that must have been a hard day for Damien to be kicked out of the House of Commons, knowing that he was going to be kicked out, and being jeered by all the Liberals, NDP, everybody that he's walking past. It's not easy. So that is the fuel that keeps truth alive. So anyway, thank you for that. So let's go to Marty.
Yeah, well, not much to add. I mean, for me, definitely, I approach it. I've been dealing with conflicts in my whole life. When people get emotional, conflict just means people with a different opinion. So for me, it's about engaging people and then diffusing those conflicts by using facts. So that's what I'm known as. So, and there's almost never a news story or a story that people are talking about where I can't throw in an opinion and add some context. So I love doing that. But But Krusty, pointed to his pen, and I'll just show you. I mean, this is on my desk. This says Office of the Health Minister, and it's addressed to Marty. I write letters. I can't emails are fantastic, but when you write them handwritten letters or even typed letters and you send by snail mail, they take that way more seriously than the email.
It's still big impact.
Yeah, and I focus regionally, but I think as long as you focus somewhere. So I'm an Albertan, but I focus my council here in Rocky View County. They freaking hate me because I'm going to show up at the council. Yes. And I'm gonna appeal my tax assessment. I'm gonna, if they have an open house, I'm gonna show up at the open house and I'm gonna chat with them. If they're in the parade and they're flipping burgers, I'm gonna make sure I can get to them, and I'm gonna make sure they know who I am and I'm one of their constituents. So, and so I do it locally, but if you can do it provincially or federally, do it. I'm lucky because sometimes I wish I had a local Liberal MP. I've never had in my life a Liberal MP. I'm an Albertan, so my MPs have been great guys.
Just vote Liberal. Maybe you'll get one.
Yeah, my MP is Blake Richards. I mean, Blake is a super nice guy, easy to talk to. I once had Joe Clark as an MP. I kind of wish I had a Liberal MP. If I lived in Kingston, Ontario, and Mark Garrettson was my MP, Mark would hate me. He'd see me coming down the street and he'd walk the other way. So yeah, engage them in a polite way and let them know that they work for you. And letters. I just cannot emphasize that enough. You write a letter.
He'd cry.
What's that?
Careful, you would
He'd
cry.
Yeah. No, they respond to letters. I don't know if it's an unwritten rule. They still have to respond to letters more than they do emails, and definitely more than they do to tweets. So,
and just a reminder to everybody, you can mail your MP or any MP at their House of Commons address for free. You do not need to put a stamp on the envelope.
Totally.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's new.
Yeah. But apparently they pay when they send it back to us, 92 cents.
Yeah, they pay with our
money. Can you send them a package free of charge?
I don't believe so. I think it's letter mail only.
Oh, okay. Scratch and sniff?
So if I don't like my MP, I can just repackage my junk mail and send it to them?
If you can, you know what? That would be amazing.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Well, campaigns have been like that. Lots of campaigns have been done that way. I mean, people have printed postcards, and postcard campaigns in the past have been very successful.
Well, the junk mail that they send you, that would be amazing to just package that up and send it back.
Send it back. Yeah, free of charge. Easy way to get.
I get it all the time from my my MP, the one who voted for the Emergencies Act, by the way. So
who here has a Liberal MP? Hands up. Anybody got a Liberal
I've
MP?
got a Liberal MP, yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Well, Vesper, you're one guy on Twitter. What's your advice?
Well, so I'm going to come at this a bit different, and I think I need to establish something. It's going to sound a little bit more philosophical, and this is how I warfare online and how I want people to think. We are in a existential war of worldviews, and I want every Canadian to understand how warfare is typically based. It's based on deception. Deception is making someone feel you're near, but really they're far. They're big and scary, but they're actually very weak. There's a movie, I don't know if any of you saw it, called Inception. It's a sci-fi movie. It's the premise behind it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
That movie's premise, what made it fascinating for me, and it's for every Canadian, I really hope you understand. I'm taking you behind the veil in marketing and in advertising what we do. Inception is what we do. We try to figure out an idea that we want to plant into your head and make you think you thought of that idea. Okay? Now, what does that mean? That means that you need to know what you believe in. When I got on X, I knew that nobody had the right to tell me, my family, my wife, anybody, what to take into our bodies. It's enshrined. If I get to say no, I have privacy, I have medical rights. All your words that you're shooting at me, that sound convincing or compassionate or whatever it is. None of this should deter what I stand for my values. Now, I'm a Christian. You don't have to be, but you have values. And that means that the government has money, your money. They get to use your money that you give to empower and sometimes scare, sometimes persuade, sometimes whatever, but all of it is to inject an idea. Be sure of what you believe in and hold strong to the values that you believe in. If you feel and you believe that people are taking things away from you that 5 years ago weren't being taken away from you under the auspices of some BS reason, you need to be able to write the people that say they're looking out for you. So I've contacted not only the MPs, I've contacted the leader of the parties. I've contacted the senators. I've contacted everybody. I get their cell phone numbers. I could get their websites. I'm not doing anything nefarious here, but they will never stop hearing from me. And you don't scare me because you're trying to scare me. This is what I do for a living. You're trying to convince all these people of all this, but really what it is me calling you and saying, can you explain to me, a constituent, how this makes sense? When I voted for you, you said that you would do X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. And here I'm looking at A, B, C. Mm-hmm. Can you please explain this to me? I want a either written letter or over a phone call because I'm not buying it. So, Canadians, if you're not buying it, don't sit there for a Tamara to call. Don't sit there for a Marty to call. You get up. You don't know how much power you have to just pick up a phone, write a letter, and put them on the spot. Let me tell you something. No politician that I have met in 3 years, and I annoy them, loves being put on the spot. They all hate it, and they all buckle. And they can give you the fake answer the first time, the second time, but not the third time. And eventually what will happen is if you feel like you want to, you tell them, listen, you could tell them straight up, I'm not recording this call, but whatever you tell me, I'll make it public. I'll put it on X. I'll put it on YouTube. I'll go to Clyde. I'll go to these people and I'll say, this is what our interchange and banter has been so that everybody knows that you really didn't mean this promise or didn't want to fulfill this thing for us. You got to call out marketers who are trying to plant ideas, but really have ulterior motives. And it's not going to happen by waiting for the next girl or guy to do it. If you see it, it's 5 minutes. The letter might be 10, 15 minutes if you think it through. But believe me, you're going to spare so many people. My school board, I won't name the name of the school board. There was adult content on all the servers for the kids. I wrote directly the teacher, nothing. Then I went to the principal. She listened. She saw. Then it went to the commissioner. Then it went to the chairman. Then it went to the MP. Then it went to the senator in the Senate. It changed in one day. It took one day for them to see this and say, no. So you have more power. Don't let them deceive you into thinking you don't have as much power as you think you should. Enough voices, you take over this whole thing.
There you go. Fascinating answer there, Vesper. Thank you. Last but not least, Clyde.
Oh, okay. Question being, what would I tell people that are demotivated?
Well, and
tune in weekdays at 7 and 6 p.m. every day. Do a podcast. No, you can.
Come on down.
There's all kinds of people to talk to. What were you going to get into? The nitty gritty of it. I mean, people are demotivated. People are demotivated, and it happens all the time. And this is what they want you to feel. They want you to feel apathetic. They want you to feel like you can't do anything about it. They want you to feel like you've got choice column A, column B, choose one of the groups. We don't take special orders here. We don't give you extra pickles. We don't give you take away the 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 onions on your burger. You have to have it the way we serve it to you. It's not the way it's got to be. Raise your voice, say something. And it's not always, and I agree with you, male people get that out there. Get that out there. Marty's saying it the best. Be a boomer. When you're dealing with boomers, act like a boomer. Grab a piece of paper and write it on paper and put it in an envelope and mail it to somebody. This is what people used to do. This is not what people do today, but whatever. They're in the past. Let them be in the past and do that accordingly. But there's other things you can do. You can talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to other people. Like, people don't all fall into this camp, right? But everybody does just kind of go along. People become automatons over time. People do just go into the thing and say, oh, I can't have extra pickles. Oh, I guess I just can't have extra pickles. I'm going to vote this way. I'm going to vote that way. And they don't raise a fuss. Raise a fuss when it's appropriate. Don't make yourself a crazy person, but like, raise a fuss. If you feel like something is like just too far beyond, sorry, I'm not going to go with that. And here's a really interesting thing that you can do in your own life. Challenge the lefties around you. Challenge them. I know people don't want to do it because you just don't want to deal with the headache. Because it really is that. It's a headache. It's the people around you that are like, well, you know, I think if you want to own guns, that's kind of crazy. Why would everybody own guns? Like, it's a crazy thing to me. Explain it to them how owning guns, because like, here's the thing. Somebody like that, I know a majority of the audience is just going, I don't want to deal with them. I just don't want to deal with it. I just don't want to talk to that guy. He said something stupid that like infringes on my rights, but I just don't want to deal with it. Sometimes you just got to deal with it. And sometimes you got to put people in their place. Sometimes you got to say, yeah, well, you know what? Your opinions are wrong. Anyway, moving on with my day. You know, just go with that. Just go with that. You don't have to like get in a whole philosophical conversation with somebody, but just do the quick challenge and move on. You're wrong. But anyway, I still like you. We can still be friends, you know, and then go away. And at least let them know that other people don't agree. They don't agree. And here's the problem with our society is so many people have been so pushy on the left and so pushy. And it's not a right and left dichotomy. It really isn't. It's because this happens when the right's in power. When the right's in power and they're going, well, I think you should have an ID to go on your internet account. Like, no, let's not do that. Let's just push on that and say, no, I want to have my rights. I want to have my abilities to keep my privacy and all these other things. And if you want to infringe on that, I'm just going to have to disagree with you and say it publicly. And let's stop shying away from this. And I know it's a Canadian politeness thing, but let's definitely just stop shying away from disagreeing with people. And you don't have to have the full discussion.
I do it all the time. Did you call me a boomer, by the way? Because I'm not a boomer. But and
no, I said do the boomer thing.
Yeah.
That's right, it matters.
And actually, speaking of boomers, I like to pick on boomers because picking on the left is easy. There's most of the people on the left are not a big challenge. I love picking on boomers. Actually, my older boomer friends, they're fun to pick on.
Well, and the other thing too is I think the other issue, you talk about challenging people, Clyde, and I completely agree with you. And I think one problem that people have is they're seeing these videos on social media, they're seeing them on YouTube, they're seeing them on TikTok, where people go out and challenge other people on the street. And what you see is the clean interactions, I got him. What they're not showing is all of the attempts that they made that didn't go very well. And the thing is people need to understand is there's dozens and dozens and dozens of interactions that these people have when they're trying to hold people on the left accountable that don't go very well. And that's why they don't make it into the final cut. So understand that challenging people, it's not easy. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. They, as Clyde said, they rely on the fact that it's uncomfortable so people won't do it. But it has to be done.
I'm going to give a
Well, here's a
quick
perfect
shout-out.
cop-out.
Hang on, let me just give a quick
Yeah.
shout out to a friend of this channel. Hopefully, you guys all know Eva Chipyuk, I'm sure. But
Oh, absolutely, she's amazing.
last week,
Wow,
Eva hosted a space, and I was on the space with her. And she picked a topic. The topic last week was the carbon tax, and I had to be the devil's advocate and argue in favor of the carbon tax. Now that was hard, and I sounded like a liberal when I was doing it. But
Just
one
bring up
good
question
way to
period. You're good.
yeah, one good way to practice
Exercise that.
arguing with other people is to actually take their side for a while and then practice.
That's what they do in debate clubs. Absolutely.
I just want to add one thing also. I think the way we communicate is so valid. So I learned this from my kids. I can say something, and all of you can chime in on if you disagree or agree.
I disagree.
You know, all right. Great. You know, Tamara, I want to give you credit on something. Watching you on TV in every way you were put on, and I'm not puffing you up here, but there was a grace about you in the way you disagreed. Some of us are so confrontational, like we want to belittle the other person. Yeah. We want to make the other person feel like, don't you know how stupid you are? How stupid are you for voting? I do this, by the way, all the time. So I'm the first guilty person on TV here. I'm learning that I can make people more angry and remove hope. And I find when you mix the message of your message with, don't you see how this is going to prosper us? Don't you see how this is going to help us? And that we're going to be a better nation. After everything that's happened these last 3 years, I'm finding more and more people are outrage exhausted. They're just so exhausted of being outraged constantly. And everyone's just bitching about all the stupidity. Yes, they're doing, it's like they're trying to break the Guinness Book of World Record for like stupid things. But where's the hope? Where's the hope that Canadians, the regular Canadians, need to hear? Like, it will get better. When we band together, it will get better. There's a way, it's just people will naturally gravitate to more normal, well-meaning people who are not there to be aggressive and angry. That's just that's just the policy, and maybe it's part of negotiations. That's how we diffuse sometimes tense negotiations. It's the way, it's the tone that you speak in also.
Well, and
this is why I tell people to disagree. Like put forward that you disagree, but like, oh, I'm just gonna humbly disagree. Moving on anyway, and then like just put it forward that you disagree with somebody. Because what most people do is just ignore it, and they just say, "Oh, okay, that's great. Oh, nice, Sally. I love your opinion." Anyway, moving on. No, you can actually say, "Sally, I think that's a terrible idea." Anyway, why don't we talk about what's happening for lunch today? Because we're gonna go out for lunch.
How about those Canucks?
yeah, just move on. That's a terrible idea, but I still like you. You know.
I think the key is really to be respectful. I mean, you don't have to like people. You don't have to like the things they say or like the way that they think. The fundamental key is just to be respectful. And I know from experience, from myself, if you go in hot and heavy and you want to confront somebody, then you're not going to, affect a healthy dialogue. You're attacking them. And nobody wants to be attacked, and they're just going to shut down and close off to even listening to you. Well, so I think that the approach has to come from just a place of respect.
Well, and I think that is what insulated you and Chris so well around the everything that happened at the convoy. You were respectful to everybody. You disagreed with the people that were, I would say, on the opposite side, conversing with you. Conversing maybe is not the right word, but you were completely calm and respectful to everybody, and that really has been the story of the convoy. Has been the respect, because people around you will emulate that, right? People around you will say, well, tomorrow's acting this way, I should probably calm down, and other people will say, hey, smacking people on upside the head when they're getting rowdy, calm down. And it's that type of positive behavior and positive interaction is just as infectious as the rage can be. So, and that's what we need to get back to. And I'm in management, and they teach us conflict management and conflict resolution. And one of the things that they teach you first is to do not meet a high amount of negative energy with a high amount of negative energy. Do not match it, because all you're going to do is feed it. Approach it with a neutral wall, if you will. Absorb that energy, and that person will they will expel what they have, and they'll have nothing left. And then you can have the conversation, or not.
I mean, I completely agree. I mean, if you look at where we are in the polls, where Canada is right now, we're like at close to a finish line. Sorry, Tamara, to cut you off on this. We're at a finish line, almost. And the last thing we need is to just only bring about just anger. We need to say there's hope, guys.
Yeah, what's
this
next?
Is going to end. Exactly. What's next? What is, like, so they're gone. Now what? We have to pick up the pieces. We have to work together. Sometimes I forget, and I'm guilty of this, that I'm not just galvanizing, let's say, the opposition, which happens to be the conservatives. I need to win over liberals. I want them to turn to the other side and say, what have we done? The NDP, what have we done? I want them to see that there is common sense. We don't have to agree, but there's a common sense that all of us share. I can't tell you how many liberal friends have turned to conservative here in Quebec. I'm not in Ontario, so I don't know about NDP, but a lot of people that were liberal, they're like, forget that. This doesn't make sense anymore. And so I think really it's all about, does the messaging, if I was a campaign manager for Poilievre right now, or for any of them that are running it, would I say, how are you giving hope to Canada? Like you've literally PTSD'd everybody for 3 years. Now what?
Yeah, and that's the tricky part, right? People have been so angry for so long, and they're starting to forget what it was like not to be angry, and that's the problem. So
open to change your mind as well. Like when you go into a conversation, you have to be willing to just be wrong about some things, and be constructive. Right? You're not always
humility. Absolutely, is a hard thing for people to grasp.
Like ignorance and egos are so high lately. It's hard to talk to people. It really is. But like Tamara says, being calm and cool and letting people speak, and as long as you get mutual respect, you can have a constructive conversation, right?
Well, and there's a saying: don't listen to respond, listen to understand.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yes.
And
there is a wonderful book that applies here, and people may know it. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it was written in the 1930s.
How many times is that going to come up this week in conversation? Holy cow.
I have a book like that on Audible.
And one of, for anyone who hasn't read it, and there probably are a lot of people who haven't, one of the key tenets of that book that Dale Carnegie tries to get across is that people very easily become bound to their opinion, and they become emotionally entangled with their opinion. So if you challenge their opinion, you are in effect challenging them. And this is where you get into when you're talking to someone who's of the leftist persuasion, they're quite often very emotionally bound to their opinion. And that means that they can't separate themselves from the opinion they hold and the person they are. They are the same. And by attacking the opinion, you are attacking them. And in order to get around that, you've got to give them the path out. You've got to give them the opening to separate themselves from the opinion. They've got to be able to say, that opinion is wrong. I now have decided it. And it's hard to explain how you actually accomplish that. It's different from everybody. The book is an excellent read, although very dated in its references and rather hilarious for that reason.
I would love to elaborate on this, if you don't mind.
Please,
if you don't mind. The book is fantastic. Yeah, it's a must-read for everybody. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and influence people. There's been parodies made about it, how to lose friends and alien people. It's a great book. It's a great book. It was a life changer for me. It was recommended to me by a friend a long time ago. I read it. Huge influence in my life. Get out and read it. But yes, when you approach people, expounding on what you were just saying, getting into this idea of how can you reach people more effectively, and how can you get to other people, because you don't want to challenge their ideas, because you're challenging their persona, their person, their ego. If you want to avoid that, the best thing to do, I found, is stop using terms and terminology that's of a political ilk. Get away from that. Stop saying certain words, certain phrases and stuff. Don't say stuff like the free market. If you say the free market, they just go, "You're a conservative. Fuck you." Sorry for the French, but get out of my conversation with you. and this is the thing. But if you say instead, the market economy, don't label things the free market or capitalism. That's like the left-right divide. These are the things that we call those things. I call it the market economy. I'll use different terminology when I'm speaking about things that will try to not emphasize what camp I'm in either way, and then just have the conversation about the actual things, not the words that are used to describe the things based on the camp that you're in. So these are ways to do this. And then the other aspect of it is a self-reflection thing. It's looking introspectively at yourself and go, maybe I'm wrong about stuff. I don't know what I'm wrong about because I have my current understanding of things. But if somebody else introduces something that challenges my perspective of the world, let's be a little bit more open to that idea. So instead of getting immediately like having an emotional response to things, reflect on it. Take yourself back and look at it, and then also tell your ego one thing. This is this amazing thing that you can do moving forward. Tell your ego something that, yes, you're right now, because your ego always wants to be right. Your ego always, I'm right. I'm the guy who's right. Me.
No, I'm Brian.
Now, what? Right? So what you could do is tell your ego that, yes, you're right, but as soon as you have new information, you could have some other way of being right. Because if you were wrong before and you've just discovered that you're right now, then you're now right, and you can always be right. And in this way, you can always appease your ego, and you can always be right. Because as soon as new information is available, then now you're right. You're right. Oh, wow. I don't have to be stubborn on the thing that I was always, talking about or thinking or espousing. I can actually look at it now in a way that I have more new information. It's come to my attention, and now I've moved on from that perspective, and now I'm moving into a new perspective. So, if you bring these tools to the table, then you can actually move forward as a person yourself, but then also be able to communicate with other people that you might disagree with and might actually have been hostile to you otherwise. Like, actually approach situations in this way. I think it work in your favor.
I need to chime in. I told Clyde today, I can't believe you're a mechanic and not a Harvard professor. Like, I genuinely said that to him. Like, you need to be a professor. It's unbelievable. Like, everything he said is absolutely true. And then he always reminds me, I'm a mechanic. And I'm like,
a mechanic. I just repeat other things that people say.
I'm blown away. Hey, listen, the real question is,
everybody, I got ahead. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Vesper.
No, please.
4:30 comes up pretty quick, so I got a lot of cattle to feed tomorrow. So I had a great time tonight. Thank you all there. Nice to meet you, Tamara. Nice to see you, Clyde. Nice to see you, Chris. Nice to see you, Marty.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you too, my man.
Outstanding. Great conversation.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. And I'll keep us all posted on things. I want to thank your audience out there. Great to see you all. Thank you for the comments. Thank everybody for this panel. But I got to dash because I got a lot of work to do tomorrow. So, as always, lots of love Canada, and thank you all for coming out, and thanks for having me. So, Cheers, folks.
Take it easy, Krusty. Thank you very
Cheers,
much.
man.
Yeah, man.
Happy New
Have a good
Year.
night.
And,
All right, happy New Year's to you too.
Bro.
So,
we're gonna get to
all
some
the best, yes.
super chats, and then we're gonna.
Hey, I just have one last question for Tamara. When is Canada stock?
When
are
is
you
what?
launching when are you going to launch Canada stock?
The answer
That's
is I'll
the
get back
next
to you
I'll
on
get
that.
back to you on
Yeah,
Just
get
couple
back
of
to that
months.
because we need Canada stock.
Yeah, yeah. What, you know what? After the Conservatives win, how about that? So,
Yeah.
so let's get to super
Yeah.
chats, and then we'll do quick final thoughts by everybody.
So we have HF with a first super on a live stream, $5 super chat. So some of my absolute faves, seeing everyone together made me think of Mr. Live from the Shed, another one of the first convoy folks I heard.
Perfect.
Awesome.
I talk to Dave every once in a while. I love Dave. He's such a guy, but he was
Love
like,
him.
this is not my thing, man. I'm not a personality. I was doing a
And he
thing.
was so good at it, though. He was so
He
good at
was,
it.
but he was just like, I'm not into it. I'm not
Yeah.
into it. And I talk to him. I have his number. I talk to him every once in a while. I'd send him texts and like, dude, just thinking about you. Love you, man. And
He's like, go away,
tell
Clyde.
No. He's like, tell everybody I'm good and I'm loving life.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's just social media wasn't his kick, and he's happy to be off of it, and he's really happy to be moving on. And yeah, he wishes everybody well. That's
Kudos to him.
last I checked in with him, and we're only talking like a few weeks ago.
Oh, perfect.
Awesome.
Well, I'm glad he's enjoying life off of social media.
Yeah, he's happy off of it.
Next.
We have another Canadian with a $13.99 super chat. It says, you are all front line on our fight to protect our freedoms, and I thank you. As that National Post article says, you are lions.
Oh, I'm glad you read it. Thank you very much.
It was a good article. Marty McFly 002 with a $20 super chat says, the government response to the protest was so ridiculously overboard. We obviously hit on something that was very important to them. My question is, why was the vaccine so dear to them? Why was it worth dispensing with democracy over?
The very short answer to that is one word, and it has nothing to do with the vaccine. It was control, and that's all it was.
Yeah, control.
100%.
Yeah. Next.
Adam _C _Anadian with a $5 super chat says, in my opinion, those looking for handouts generally vote Liberal. Those blue collar working class generally vote Conservative. In my observation, am I wrong?
You're pretty right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say entitled people.
Straight answer. I love a straight answer.
You know,
you're pretty right.
you know what? I'll leave
You're
I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Chris.
Well, I would say, I'm just gonna add to that. Like there is like a mindset that that you want to give to charity. You want to be charitable in your life. So you think that there should be a third party that takes money from you and takes money from everybody else as well, and gives it to the charities that you see fit, and that you should lobby for those charities to be number one or number two or whatever, right? I disagree with that. I think if you want to be charitable, you should be charitable in your own right.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not have a third party like the government to take our money and give it to charities on other people's behalf. If
It's the same, we have to take care of the people in our communities, right? Like we have to act, and we have to take care of the people in our communities, and that's, we don't need. See, when I help people myself, I give them some sort of purpose, and I give them a job, and I try to help as many people as I can. And I was like, hey man, I need somebody to add up all my receipts. Here's some, my buddies, whatever, is disabled. Like count up all these, and I'll pay you whatever. Like, we need to be active and help each other out a little bit more. Like, I don't know, like how do we, like I when I was a kid, we knew all our neighbors and everyone on the block, and all the kids are playing on the streets. And nowadays it's like, I do talk to my neighbors a little bit, but it's not like it used to be.
We talk to more people on the internet than we do to our neighbors.
Yeah.
Guilty.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I hate people.
We're like a pair of hermits.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? My wife has started actually making pies and taking it to our neighbors and just saying, hi, how are you?
You
We just
will
wanted
now
to
speak
give
to
you
me.
No, we're not even looking for a conversation. What we've done is we've noticed, and this is not manipulation, we genuinely want our kids to meet the other kids in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And what we found is small gestures. You don't have to make a pie. Just, good morning, we're your neighbors. You leave something. It's gonna have to be a grassroots thing again. What these liberals have done is brought it to federal. And what like Tamara and Chris did were remind everybody, like, look, no, this is a grassroots thing.
Yeah.
Canada needs to be reincarnated because they're trying to make it something else that it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember this Canada in 80 when I was here in 87,
No,
88,
it didn't exist.
89. I played street hockey with Bajans, Jamaicans.
Yeah.
Like there was no racism. There was nothing. There was no talk. You could be anything. Girls were playing hockey with us. Like we didn't care about sexism. We didn't care about anything.
Yeah.
I think they've so focalized everything to the top that it needs to be again a grassroots thing. I don't know, unless you guys think I'm pushing it too far.
No, I agree. I agree totally. I grew up in Windsor, Ontario, which is like a hotbed for immigration and whatnot. And like the kids that I grew up with, I'd say like 50% of the class was like white kids, and the rest was a mix of everything else. Like, and either their parents were immigrants or they themselves were immigrants. It didn't matter. Like we were kids, and nobody cared. Nobody cared. Like nobody knew what racism was until adults came into the picture and introduced it to us, right? Yeah, like we really didn't care. Everything was just quirky and weird, and everybody kind of got along. Yeah, because we just wanted to play. We just wanted to play and be kids. This whole notion of Trudeau and coming in and saying we're going to be the first post-nation society. Like, no, we're not. We're not. A lot of people want to be Canadian. People come here to become Canadian, and you're saying that we're not going to have that. Like, what does that even look like? Not being Canadian, like post-nation Canada, is what? Well,
like, he was the one who said the Canadians didn't have an identity too, right? So, and we clearly do.
So a portion of that is correct, but that gets into something that his dad tried to play off, is that what defines us is we're not American, which is stupid because I'm not going to lie to you. Like people in British Columbia have more in common with people from Washington than they have with people in Ontario. Like this is the reality of the situation. People in Ontario have more in common with people in New York State than they do with people in Alberta. And that's just the way it is. We are a group of different cultures, all under the same flag, and we all respect the flag, and we all love the fact that we're Canadians, but we all know that we have different walks and ways of life, and that's fine. And that's fine. It's okay. But like when you go across the country and you check out other people's way of life, you do the like when in Rome thing instead of what the liberal government's doing, and they're doing their thing. They're pushing on everybody what their thing is. And their thing happens to be from Europe. It's this whole new concept of post-nation societies, moving towards conglomeration of nation states into world dominated, like a conglomerate society ruled over by, aristocrats. And people aren't buying it. They're not keen on it. They don't want it. They just want to live in neighborhoods.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, want a nice neighborhood and want nice neighbors, and you want a society that's roughly safe, roughly predictable. You want to be able to know tomorrow that you're gonna your business isn't going to be shut down by some government authority, and that's really at the end of the day what people mostly care about.
Yeah. And I want Fox to read the next super chat.
So thank you to the dude with a $10 super chat. It says, because of you all, I still have hope that we can go back to the Canada we all love and deserve.
That's the goal.
That's our hope as well.
Yeah. There's a line from Candace Owens. Now I know she's American, but Tamara, you're gonna love this if you haven't read it. It says Trudeau says the truckers have no right to shut down the economy and to prevent people from living their day-to-day lives. Does not appreciate the irony that this government for the last 2 years has shut down the economy and prevented people from living their day-to-day lives. And so,
Absolutely.
so if nobody understands how coercive priming marketing works, that's how it works. You take the thing, you blame the person, and you make them out to be the villains. But you did the same thing. Why is it okay for you to do it, but not me? I'm saying we have to have rights. You're saying, no, you don't have rights. We have right. We give you your rights. Okay, well, we're coming to talk.
You're talking about a guy that. I mean, you're talking about a guy that doesn't believe a protest is a proper way to try and affect change. I mean, the guy's out to lunch.
Right. He has no idea what he's talking about. So.
Oh yeah,
like people should
bringing American politics to Canada, right?
Yeah.
These fringe minorities that are coming here to protest don't represent
you silly
Canadians.
Protesters. Let's get that out of the Constitution. Anyway,
like what?
Wait a second. Yes, he does believe that because didn't he join a protest? Like when was that?
With the BLM.
Like the Prime Minister of Canada went and joined the protest.
Yeah.
So it's complete hypocrisy. And
well, no, it's not hypocrisy if you look at it. He actually thought that they would do nothing. He went out to this protest that he clearly, I mean, a guy who's done blackface more times than he remembers went to a protest for Black Lives Matter. He clearly thought this was gonna do nothing.
Yeah,
his idea of working towards reconciliation is surfing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
I remember that.
You take a trip to BC. That's where you go. I'm going to work on my reconciliation by going surfing next summer. So
right?
So let's continue on. Robert McFallon with a $2 super chat. Marty is the absolute truth. Yes, he is. Rob Steffler with a $5 super chat. Does anyone else feel there is a sense of reverse discrimination in the workplace?
Yes.
Short answer, there absolutely is. Anyone who's in corporate Canada is seeing this everywhere. Another Canadian.
I just want to chime in. There's no such thing as reverse discrimination. There's no reverse racism.
It's just discrimination.
Yeah.
And there's just racism.
Yeah. Correct.
That's what it is.
Very good to point that out.
And nobody was talking about it until he brought it up. Like literally nobody was talking about it. All my friends were Haitians, Bajans, Jamaicans. We got along.
Yeah, nobody cared.
They came to my house. I went to their house.
Everybody's
I knew
fine.
their moms. We all got along until this guy decided to say, hey, you're a racist. Dude, I'm not even from this country, dude. I have dark skin. Who am I racist against?
Well, here's the irony. They're calling everyone racist, and they've changed the term to racialized people, as if something happened to them at birth. Like that's the irony of what they're like. Oh, wow. Sorry, you came out racialized. That's unfortunate. Like it's a disgusting term.
Well, it's true though. It's because it's these politicians that have racialized them. Otherwise, they're just Canadians.
Exactly.
I come from a mixed racial family in a sense. I have like some family. They're from Africa, and since Trudeau's been in office, because I support the Conservatives now, I haven't spoken to my cousins in years because they would just refuse to talk to me because they think I'm some sort of racist now or whatever. Just because
terrible person with an opinion.
The Conservatives, it's crazy. You can't even have a conversation with them. Like it's just.
Well, you got to give them credit.
We're family.
They've successfully correlated concepts. We've talked about this, Clyde and I, on the show when I was on, that they've correlated concepts and primed them the way that remember we were talking about susceptibility, Clyde, that you can hypnotize people if you repeat something and attach it to something. If you take the word conservative, and now Trump wasn't good for this because he went to the Conservatives. It's not his fault per se, but the propaganda launched in the United States to shoot at far right, they made them so far right that even Elon, remember that tweet he did where he's like, I used to be right in the middle, like this was the left. This is where you guys are now, completely on the left.
Yeah, they went so far left that when you look back, anybody who's a centrist looks like they're on the right.
Oh well,
And
anyone
it's
to the right or
crazy,
the left is far right. That's basically how it works. So
Alt-right, far alt-right.
they've gone
That's
crazy.
right.
It's really nuts.
So let's get through the rest of these. Rob
Homestead.
Steffler with a $5 super chat. Oh, sorry, I just read that. Another Canadian with $7 super chat. Every view of our MP's messages on YouTube is a petition to the government. Like and share to show that we agree with absolutely on all of these channels. Will Cavalchuk with a $5 super chat. Tamara, I'm so proud of you. I have to know, with all you have been through, how can you still smile and be so solid? I love you. And I just want to echo, Fox and I have had the privilege of talking to Tamara on the phone a couple of times. She is one of the sweetest human beings you will ever talk to or meet in your entire life.
Thank you. I get that question a lot, and my only answer is I'm just not a bitter person by nature, and I'm not an angry person by nature, and I believe God has a plan for me, and He has had my back so far. We've exposed so much already, and thy will, not my will, is kind of my saying. It's thy will, not my will.
Amazing. And thank you for all of the work that you're doing to Tamara, and thank you for all you're putting up with. So another Canadian $14 super chat. It's not just another Canadian, that's the person's name. My MP, Tracy Gray, has been kicking ass in the community volunteering, but her presence on LinkedIn and YouTube gets filtered. How do we bring attention to them? Post on social media, have conversations with your friends. If you want, you can even send an email to one of our channels, and if we have some bandwidth, maybe we'll cover something. There's many things that you can do there. Trish Pro with a $20 super chat. I'm a boomer and I resemble that comment. A couple of people did here. Norm Nicholson. Norm! With a $100 super chat. Thank you so much. Great discussion. Great bunch. Team Canada. Absolutely. Yeah. Rob Steffler with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Just saw on X, the Minister of Immigration. It's working on a permanent residency plan to help forge a pathway for all people that are working and living here illegally. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Wallflower with a $10 super chat. Just thank you. Well, thank you very much. Don Wickenden with a $5 super chat. Hugs. Well, hugs back from all of us to you, Doug. Or Don, sorry. Osiris Gaming with a $10 super chat. Thank you all for the work you do. Not only the info being spread, saving lives, but I would most likely not be here if for not for the hope you all give. And that's what we'll get into actually in a second in our final thoughts. Adam Canadian with another.
My biggest regret is taking a week off.
There you go.
I took some time off for the holidays. So.
We did too.
Sorry,
we needed it. Sorry. I heard this somewhere and it stuck. I'd rather be part of the fringe minority than part of the syringe authority. Great quote, in my opinion. Kenzie Kraken, $5 super chat. At JD would like to know if Tamara would consider organizing a freedom concert with Canadian bands. A moratorium on immigration is required. Well, we already talked about Canada Stock, so there you go. So, but it's 12:10. Some of us definitely do need to work, so we'll just do a short final thought from everybody, and we'll close it out. So, Clyde, you want to start?
Sure. Final thoughts is there are no final thoughts. This is an ongoing conversation. We're all going to be talking about this for ages, as far as the future can see. We have a lot of work ahead of us. We're just a big job. It's a big task to get into what's happening in government, but also in the culture. People want to concentrate on what's happening in government. That's fine. I'm getting really into the culture of things. I think just like Breitbart, politics is downstream from culture. I want to move the needle. I want to move that needle over towards liberty. However that looks for you, that may differ. And, we can have this conversation. We can talk about this. We can discuss what liberty looks like to individuals. But I think in a grand scheme of things, the world is moving towards liberty as the elite, as they like to call themselves, because that's a super humble term. Apparently, they want to call themselves elites, but whatever, you can have that title if you'd like it. They want to move towards centralization. It's not the first time in history we've ever done this, and every time they've ever accomplished that, it's been a massive disruption in world history. Unfortunately, in previous times, we had to have world wars to decide who the winners were going to be. I don't think that that's good, the direction that we're going to go this time. We're going to go towards whoever wins the social media war, modern day warfare, fifth generation warfare, you want to call it. We are winning this fight. We've got to the point where Klaus Schwab has even made a video denouncing libertarianism. This is his biggest fear. The biggest fear is this idea of liberty, the people that want to determine their own life. They want to govern themselves. This self-governance experiment, it was the biggest boon in economic history. It was the biggest boon in world history of people being able to push past things that happened previously in other generations. Serfdom didn't work out. I mean, it was a way of living life in previous times. We have discovered the fact that if we can bring people liberty, if people have liberty, we're going to get more and more prosperity through this. It's the only thing that's really pushed people into having a middle class instead of having the wealthy classes, the aristocracy, and the poor serfs. We've had an amazing 300 years in history. Let's move this forward. It's within our grasp, and we can make this happen. So this is what we're doing. Moving forward, we're looking forward to this, and I want to have these discussions more and more with people every single day. So I have a lot of hope moving into the future. 2024 is going to be a great year, and I look forward to speaking with every one of you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Clyde. Vesper.
I don't think I need to say much more than I've already said on X. If you want to go see what I do, go and steal my shit. Use it however you want. There's no comment. Do whatever the hell you want with it. It's yours. I'm not selling it. What I want to say, and I mean this to all of you, to construction, thank you for your loyalty to this country. To Marty, thank you for your no-nonsense communication. And thank you for rallying people behind common sense. Clyde, thank you for your unwavering humility. And you do. I know what it takes to do what you have to do. It takes a lot of work. And I'm sure a lot of people here know exactly how much work it takes. Tamara, there really is no words. Thank you. I know you didn't expect it all the way it was supposed to be. But I thank you that God gave you the grace to stand, and that God kept you strong in the midst of a storm. Cipher and Fox, thank you. I stumbled upon you. I am so grateful. You guys actually give me hope that there are people, because I lost friends and family that I thought were sane, but they buckled immediately. Now, I don't hate them. The door's always open. But you gave me hope at a time when it was really dark for me. And I'm a Christian. It's funny. I was telling a friend of mine today, it's funny you read it, but then when you live it, it's such a different thing. It's just a different thing that you've read these in history. So thank you to all of you. That's what I want to say. I was literally, and still am, a nobody that's going to cancel his Twitter account. You guys are the ones that are leading this charge. I'm just here to help, and I encourage all Canadians in any way you can help these people out.
Thank you very much for that, Vesper. And I'll just take care of these two super chats. Tamara is a Canadian hero. That's from Robert McFallon, $10. Thank you very much. And another one from Robert McFallon, $2. I love Vesper. So you may be a nobody, but you're a nobody that a lot of people like Vesper. So we're all nobodies. We're just happening to say we've had enough, and we're taking a stand. And that's the message. You know, everyone can be a nobody. It doesn't mean you can't have an effect on the positive change in this Canadian country. Marty.
Well, I'll leave this thought. I used to think that, you know, in say whatever political systems and humanity and whatnot, that humanity was evolving towards freedom, that people wanted freedom because, you know, we were enslaved forever, and that people wanted capitalism and those things, and I thought they'd win out in the end. And what happened in the last couple of years scared the shit out of me, and I'm gonna go forward with that fear. I'm disappointed at how easily people give up their freedoms in the name of other things, in the name of safety or convenience. You know, I can understand giving some for real safety. When you give up freedoms for convenience, that scares me. And I'll just, you know, I'll just say this, like, you know, we said it, we get the government that we vote for, and I think our government reflects us, and that does scare me. I do think a lot of people don't value freedom as much as some of us do, and freedom is hard, and I see that all the time. Like, I get, you know, I've been critical of a lot of people who've been coming to Alberta lately because they say Alberta is the last place that has this conservatism, and I say park your socialism when you come here. And then within months of showing up here, people realize that the true conservatism and the small government that we have here, people go, what do you mean I have to, you know, there's no hospital nearby, I have to drive myself to the hospital? Or what do you mean I have to buy water? Or what do you mean I have to drive my kids to the school? Or, you know, things like that. And I'm go, well, that's the conservatives and the libertarianism. That's what it means. Small government means something, and a lot of people, when they experience that small government, go, ooh, I kind of like the convenience. So, you know, the events of the last few years were an eye opener for me, and I'll keep on battling with you folks and with these platforms, and you know, try to encourage people, to try to convince people that freedom is hard and is difficult, but it's worth it because the alternative is not something I'm interested. So, you know, otherwise, and Tamara, like, yeah, you've heard it before. I do think what you did and the shit you're taking for what you did is you took one on the chin for all of us, and you know, we can never thank you enough for that. So, and everybody else, you know, broadcasting and using their voice in any way we can, that's the best we can do. So, you know, thanks for having me on the show today, and Merry Christmas to all you guys, and Happy New Year, and to the viewers.
Chris.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Chris.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, man. Yeah. Tamara, what a champ. I mean, I've been watching the trial like daily. Every day you're in there, I'm getting updates. It's an outrageous, and it goes to show how easily that lower system of like the King's bench, the Queen's bench can be manipulated against us. And the Supreme Court I still feel it's pretty solid. Like, the high courts in Canada are pretty solid still, but it's just so ridiculous. You're like, you know, and it just goes to show how there's bigger issues, and these issues existed long before Trudeau, and so we're not you know, like, we can't blame that on him exactly. What, you know, there's things we got to look at and fix in this country, and you know, the justice, the legal system, it's a machine. Like, there's all these lawyers and judges and everything involved, and it's just a machine, and the police are the instrument, right? And it's unfortunate. Like, they're not saying all cops are bad, they're not. I know plenty of good ones, and I advocate for police. I think they're absolutely necessary, but you know, it's just crazy. But thank you, Tamara. I know you're gonna come out of this super strong and wise, and I just, yeah. But it's tough, man. Being on conditions and in jail, and oh man, there's so many uncertainties when all your freedoms are ripped away and you're sitting in a cell, and you have no well, yeah, I don't know. So back when my experience is you had to line up for a payphone. So I don't know, like now I think you can text family members or something, but anyways, like you're isolated, and it's very hard. So yeah, you're a very strong person. You've come out of it and showed us so much strength. It's just awesome. You're definitely like a martyr, in a sense, a living martyr. But yeah, everyone just power to the people. I think it was Nelson Mandela when he was released out of prison, said we can't be against hate and hate, right, guys? Like we gotta have like hold on to those Canadian values that that we all are just ingrained in us, and be like, let's not lose that, right? There's a lot of crap that we see on the internet and social media and stuff, and it's like, I totally banned TikTok and YouTube Shorts out of, like, I have 4 kids, and there's just no way they're allowed to see any of that. Like, we need to be teaching our kids and be there for our kids and be there in their lives. And yeah, just like I was saying, that's how we fix this. This is how we grow, and just starting here with ourselves and our surroundings, right? So, but anyways, great people everywhere. Like you guys, I've watched most of you guys. Vesper, I'm not so familiar with, but I'm going to check you out on X. I'm not a big X guy, but I'm going to check it out. I'm a big Elon fan, but
I've already followed you, by the way, so you'll see me.
Yeah. Sorry, man. I've been watching Clyde for years, and I've seen Marty up north for sure. But yeah, and of course, Northern Perspective. Thank you so much for what you guys are doing. What a great. I just love it. Like I've seen so many political channels pop up since like the last 5 years or whatever. It's been crazy, right? Since COVID, especially, right? And you guys are doing a fantastic job. So thank you for doing what you do, and all of you guys, just awesome. Keep it up.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you.
Barnaby.
Or do we get tomorrow?
Oh yeah, Barnaby.
I'm giving tomorrow the last, the last of the panels. So.
Actually, it's funny. I was going to suggest that you do that. For my part, I just want to thank Cipher and Fox for including me and allowing me to help. I want to thank all of you for everything that you guys do. I was watching, Clyde especially, I was watching before Cipher and Fox even began. Mm-hmm. And if I had no idea that at any point I would ever have the opportunity to speak to you directly. So thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome. Hit me up anytime, Barnaby.
And to Tamara, of course, as everyone said, thank you for everything you've done. There can never be an end to the thanks I think you deserve. And frankly, I'm privileged to be just a part of the support structure in all of this. Somebody has to carry the supplies, and so that the army can move forward.
Yeah,
and,
I like that. I like that.
So thank you all, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, my man. Oh
yeah, Happy New Year.
Before we get to you tomorrow, I'm going to finish off these super chats. Don Wickenden with a $5 super chat. Epic show. Cheers. Thank you very much. Yola Zago with a $14 super chat. Super sticker. Just a big thank you to everybody. Thank you very much for that. Adam Canadian with a $5 super chat. The problem is that people that didn't have to work for it, defend freedom, don't realize that they have unfortunately, until it's gone. That is a unfortunate truth. Yeah. But Tamara, your final thoughts.
Well, thank you. It is just so humbling and such an honor for me to be here with all of you, and I'm going to cry because you guys are the heroes in the story. And Vesper, you are just as important and a piece of this as everybody else. You know, people that say that, they're just doing a small part, or I don't really matter. That's not true. It doesn't matter how small your role is. It's just as important as, Chris Barber leading trucks down the road. It truly, truly is. And to everybody in the audience, I mean, that goes to you too. Everybody is important. Everybody's significant. Everybody has a part to play. And it is just truly an honor for me to be here. And I've told Cipher and Fox this before. I started watching them right from the very beginning, and I immediately got on my phone and said, these are the guys to watch. They're amazing. What you guys are doing is outstanding. Clyde, I've been following you since I got out of jail and started sitting on my couch watching YouTube videos of what the heck happened when I was locked up. And you were one of the first accounts that I came across. And thank you for everything that you're doing. Marty, I've been following you for just about as long as I've had a Twitter account. And you're all amazing. So I just want to say thank you. I believe 2024 is going to be an amazing year. I think it's going to be a year of victory and vindication. I think we're all headed in the right direction. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed. This is the point. They're throwing all this stuff at us because when you feel overwhelmed, you don't know where to start. Pick one thing. Pick one thing that you're passionate about. Educate yourself, get involved, and we got a country to save, folks.
Yeah.
And
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much for that, Tamara. Fox, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Thank you all for coming on this evening. I can't even describe to you, this past year has just been a whirlwind. It's been incredible. I say to Cipher all the time, I cannot believe that we have been able to meet so many incredible people just like sitting in our little office behind these microphones. It's been an incredible journey, and we are so fortunate to be able to count you all as our friends. You know, you guys are such an inspiration, not only to us, but to Canadians as well. And I think you all show Canadians that, you know what, things might be a little bit rough right now, but we can get through it, and we can get through it together. We just have to stay together, and we have to try, and we'll do it.
Yep. And I'll,
Beautiful.
you know, this channel, we didn't.
Sorry, he's
we
getting
started
a little
this.
emotional.
Everyone's gonna be crying by the end of this stream.
All right.
We started this channel, you know, because we wanted to. We couldn't sit back and do nothing anymore. We didn't want our son to grow up and have to look him in the eye and apologize that we didn't do anything. We didn't want to be in that situation. And although we joke a lot on this channel, you know, we try and keep it light. We try and entertain people. You know, the reason why we're so thankful is because without this channel, our son wouldn't be getting the therapy he needs.
Aw.
He has some serious challenges. And it's very expensive. And you know, that the help that Clyde has given us, the help that Vesper has given us, even Krusty, you know, having us on his live stream, and you know, we've talked about, you know, some things with him, and everybody else. That's contributed to our growth, and it's contributed to the fact that our son is finally getting the help that he needs. That was stolen from him during the lockdowns. So it makes a big difference, everybody. And as Tamara said, if you do anything, literally anything, you have no idea the impact that that can have on somebody else's life. It's the butterfly effect. That one like of a video, one click on a thumbnail, you have set off a chain reaction of events that will inadvertently have a positive impact on someone's life. Sometimes that's our son. Sometimes it's a Canadian, maybe in rural Canada, that is on their last bit of hope. But because you clicked on something and YouTube decided, you know what, that's similar to this person, it puts that in front of that person's, in front of their eyes. They click on it, and that could change the course of their life. So the fact that you even do that, just think about that. Then think, well, what if I did a little bit more than that? Just a little bit. And then you keep going. Like, there's so much you can do, even from your home. And if you want to get even more involved, as has been suggested, look at your local community. Change does not start from the top. It starts from the bottom. In every single revolutionary change in human history, whether it be violent or peaceful, it has never begun at the top. It starts with the nobodies. The nobodies are the heroes in that story. So I challenge you, be a nobody. Be a hero. In 2024, make that a year that you can be proud of. Make that a year that you bring hope to at least one other person. That's your job. And if you need help with that, there's a bunch of people right here that are happy to help you. So, thank you to everybody. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Vesper. Thank you, Clyde. Thank you, Tamara. Hopefully I made most of you cry, because I don't like to cry alone. And thank you, Barnaby, for doing yeoman's work in the chat on all of our live streams. It's very much appreciated.
Yes.
But thank you all for being literally teammates in this fight. And as you know, we're with Clyde. As soon as that government rolls over, it's time to get to work.
Absolutely. Let's get to work.
Yeah, hold them accountable, right? We got to make sure they follow through.
We're going to be in committee. We're going to be making sure that they live up to their promises. And if not,
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah, it's not a team sport. This is not a team sport. This is we're working for the future of our country, for our children. It's an ideological battle that at the end of the day is really what it is. Are we going to choose freedom, or are we going to choose security?
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat. Like, way to go, Cipher. The whole chat's crying. That's funny.
I'm still crying in baseball.
Yeah, I just read what James Mesher said, and honestly, Tamara, like, it's the quote that's going to go down, and I think in infamy. Tamara said, "Hold the line," and I hope while you are away, and now that you're back, that you see the fruits of your labor. That there have been many that have been holding the line.
Well, and now it's time to move that line.
Oh, I've been pushing the line, man. This is my job. I've been doing it, and I'm bringing people with me.
There you go. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. I think we'll end it there. Stream has to end after a good cry. So thank you, everybody, for your support. And we'll see you in 2024. Thank you all. God bless if you believe. And if not, then just
have a good night.
Have a good night.
Bye,
and a happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Good night, everyone.
Good night.